Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast The Storm, where socially awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co host, the nerdy occultist, Dalton L. Mortimer, which he will be here in a moment. And I am your host, last time will want to be the brainstorm of pop culture. How is everyone doing this fine evening? Yes. Everyone say hello to the nerdy occultist, aka the authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Yeah, Brainstormer asked me to do a thing right as we were supposed to go live because he didn't think to do it ahead of time.
I think it's been very okay. To be fair, it's been very well established in this podcast that I kind of go by the seat of my pants sometimes.
I know, but
I know.
When you forced me to do it, it ruins our intro, Mello.
I'm sorry.
You could have literally asked me to do it 5 minutes before we went live, and it wouldn't have been a problem.
I just remembered it as we were about to. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Uh-huh. I will be quietly shaming and disapproving of you the entire stream now, just for that, you know.
Yeah, I know. Hello, Dragon Throw. He says hello. Yeah, so again, we're just gonna try to play catch. Well, it's a mix of catching up and covering things that have happened over the week.
Yeah, one new thing because it was relevant, and we're still mostly playing the trailer game. Mostly.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. These are articles Dawn sent me, and one of them is not linked in the description yet. I will do that after. Just simply because StreamYard is always kind of a pain in the ass of me.
Yeah, there was an error. I meant to send a second article and accidentally sent two of the same, so I had to fix that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. But it's essentially because it's a two-part story, and you'll see why presumably when we're done covering it. Anyway, so on with the thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So this is from BGR.com. Agatha, Governor Chaos plot leak reveals everything that happens in the Disney Plus show. This written by Chris Smith and published 2 months ago, or updated 2 months ago, which I guess just means uploaded. Not an exact date, just because it doesn't give us one here, unfortunately. So.
Yeah. Presumably because it was posted long enough ago that they don't keep the individual date on file for some reason. Anyway, moving on. Kind of like with YouTube, where instead of giving a date most of the time, it'll say 1 day ago or 2 years ago or whatever it happens to have been posted. You actually have to physically go and look for the date.
Yeah. Okay. I do also want to point this out, just for point of reference. Dawn has seen WandaVision. I have seen clips of WandaVision. I have not sat down and watched the actual show itself, mainly because it never interested me.
Honestly, if you're ever gonna watch it, just watch episode 8. It will save you a bunch of fucking time. Because it literally is such that the only episode worth watching of of WandaVision is episode 8, and then they immediately shit the bed with episode 9. So like it's dozens upon dozens of hours of build up that effectively basically get boiled down into we're going to explain everything in a single episode, and then that explanation doesn't even lead to anything because they roll back on most of it in the following episode. So yeah, there's one episode of WandaVision that's worth watching, and that's WandaVision episode 8, and it's the Agatha-centric one where she takes Wanda to the witch school and plays Ghost of Christmas Past with her memories.
Right. I have heard in consensus, and I mostly heard this from Dawn, is one of the best things from WandaVision has been Agatha Harkness, played by Kathryn Hahn.
Yeah, she might well be the best magic user in the MCU now that the Ancient One is dead. And there are ways in which I kind of even prefer her to the Ancient One, because rather than just be generic and go, well, spells are a programming language for the universe, you see, and blah 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 blah, blah energy and stuff. Rather than doing that, she actually goes through and explains like the actual mechanics of the spells and how her spells work. Which again, speaking as someone who is both a fan of magic in fiction and a 16-year veteran of practicing shit myself, I prefer a magic user character I can actually conceive of talking shop with. And so far, Agatha is the only character who A, seems like someone I could talk shop with, and B, who seems like her studies in the magical arts have actually made her a wiser, more well put together person. She's an evil, wise, well put together person, but she's still much more measured and much wiser even than I would argue the Ancient One, or at least the version of the Ancient One we get in the MCU. So yeah, she's my favorite magic user so far. Plus, she's actually one of the few Disney affiliated villains in a long time that have actually got a villain song. Technically. And the evil villainous part of me gives props for being a villain competent enough to bring your own theme music along. Because, you know, professional integrity and all that. Even villains have to have some standards of conduct.
Right, okay. So, moving on to the actual article. Agatha, played by Kathryn Hahn, was a breakout character in WandaVision, with fans loving Hahn's performance as one of the show's main villains. We say villains plural because Wanda, played by Elizabeth Olsen, is also a bad guy, much as fans hate to accept her descent into evil throughout WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness. Okay.
Yeah, I agree on that, and I'm not even going to begrudge you the passive aggression because, frankly, it is warranted. You got half the people going, "Grr, she was a villain in WandaVision. Why does no one see it?" And you've got the other half going, "Grr, she was framed as not villainous in WandaVision, so why is she framed as villainous in Multiverse of Madness?" And in both cases, the answer is she was a villain the whole time. The only difference is one of the writers wanted to frame her villainy as justifiable, and the other one wanted to frame it as the villainy that it actually is. And frankly, of the two, I think Sam Raimi and Michael Waldron did it slightly more genuinely because the meta narrative surrounding WandaVision and the in-universe logic of WandaVision don't line up, whereas the logic in Multiverse of Madness does line up to at least some degree, even if it's clunky because Michael Waldron is not an experienced writer on this scale. Yeah. But in any case, I don't mind the passive aggression of that. That was probably warranted. Moving on.
Okay. Since Agatha was so amazing, Marvel decided to create a Disney Plus show around the character Agatha Covenant cast. I thought it was House of Harkness.
That was the working title, and they changed it because presumably they workshopped it, and Covenant of Chaos sounded cooler.
I don't know. I like House of Harkness. It sounds really cool.
I'm there with you. I don't mind the idea of House of Harkness because it almost gives me like a Addams Family monster vibe. And if we're gonna do what WandaVision did and kind of play with the sitcom tropes, but in Agatha's case with the more witchy, darker gothic sitcom tropes, I could see this being to WandaVision what something like Addams Family or The Munsters is to, you know, the Dick Van Dyke Show or or the I Dream of Jeannie stuff that WandaVision was parodying.
Actually, recently I tried to watch some. I want try to. No, I did watch some clips of the Dick Van Dyke Show.
What'd you think?
I don't remember. It actually it was like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't. I'm right there with you. It is the single most boringly generic sitcom ever. And I get that it was the 50s, and I get that it was kind of the first one to do it, but even I Love Lucy had a more interesting gimmick than the Dick Van Dyke Show.
There's one show I remember like watching on TV. I'm sorry, this is like a weird tangent here, but one show I remember.
Yeah, I think we both grew up on like Nick at Night / TV Land style sitcom reruns.
Yeah, it was black and white. I know that. Andy something.
Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah.
That was another one that left me wanting, because Westerns just in general are boring to me, so I'm not a big fan of Gunsmoke, I'm not a big fan of Bonanza, and I'm not a big fan of the Andy Griffith Show.
That is a discussion for later about the whole Western thing, but I'll be honest, I've never really gotten into sitcoms, to be fair. Like
I've gotten into sitcoms, just not those particular sitcoms.
Yeah, it depends.
I have a soft spot for Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. I have a soft spot for The Cosby Show. I have a soft spot for like Home Improvement and Family Matters and Fresh Prince and all the ones from the 90s.
I think it depends, because I don't know. It's weird. I've never done
my like top 4 favorite sitcoms are Golden Girls, Frasier, Seinfeld, and Malcolm in the Middle, although not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, even like sitcoms and on kids TV, like Disney or Nickelodeon. I couldn't get into them.
Well, I mean, you said you had positive memories with Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and stuff.
That's true. I think it's just one where like it's not super formulaic, I guess.
I'm the same way. The gimmick or the premise has to grab me for me to pay attention to it, or the character dynamics have to be extremely likable and the humor has to be sharp. Ideally, a little bit of all of the above.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of how I am. What's weird is I remember this is the weirdest one. Like one of the shows I remember watching a lot growing up with like my grandma. What was it? In Cleveland something?
Hot in Cleveland.
Yeah, I remember that. That was
the one that had Valerie Bertinelli, Wendy Malick, Betty White, and the British one that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Joy was my favorite character in that. Yeah, I really liked Hot in Cleveland as well, especially because that one was an original. That was an original one that was made in like the modern day, which sitcoms are sort of a dying breed now.
Yeah.
Like in the old fashioned style. And the first 3 seasons of Big Bang Theory were not terrible. Back when they kind of split their jokes between being in on the nerdiness and or like mocking the normies and mocking the nerds. It used to be more even keel with Big Bang Theory in the first three or so seasons. And then by season 5, it was like 90% mocking nerds for being nerds and only 10% maybe the nerds have a point, maybe the normies are stupid. And that's when I lost interest, which is why I only have the first 5 seasons of Big Bang Theory on DVD. And if I could get rid of the last 2 seasons, I probably would.
Hello, Soccer Time Gaming. He just got taken off the air.
Did he? I am going to momentarily enjoy the Schadenfreude of the one that he doesn't have me on is the one he gets pulled for, and then I'm going to feel bad for my friend for getting his stream pulled. And no one is going to judge me for dealing with the Schadenfreude first.
Okay. Barring that, I guess we should move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't have a release date for Coven of Chaos. The show is currently shooting, and if leaker's recent claims are accurate, we already know what happens in Agatha Coven of Chaos, thanks to a massive plot leak. MCU fans who hate spoilers should avoid what follows.
And I'm going to provide my own warning for this as well, because I have read through this. They are terrible, and I will go into detail as to how terrible they are when we get into it. But warning, these plot leaks are terrible if they are true. I went from being the most excited for Coven of Chaos to not wanting Coven of Chaos to exist because of these plot leaks. So keep that in mind. These plot leaks are terrible. You have been warned. Moving on.
Right. Okay. Wanda leaves Westview in the WandaVision finale. She traps Agatha in the city, essentially getting even for what Agatha did to her. We won't dwell on how Wanda gets to fly away without anyone holding her accountable. As Doctor Strange in Multiverse Madness, someone address that.
Okay. I'm going to push back on this a little bit in the phrase "getting even," because and don't get me wrong, that second part of that sentence buys you back a lot of mercy, because I was originally more mad at this, but she wasn't getting even with Agatha. Agatha basically did nothing wrong. In fact, if you actually watch the show, Agatha is the person who does the most to help her and to wake her up from her psychotic break. The only thing she does wrong is she tries to drain Wanda's magic from her, which will kill her. But as we've seen how Wanda uses her magic when she's left to her own devices, maybe Agatha could have been inadvertently doing everyone a favor here. And by the way, that was also kind of her justification, was you don't know how to use this power. This power is too dangerous for someone who doesn't know how to use it, so I'm going to take it because I know what to do with it and I know how to control it properly. Which again, it would have killed her. It's basically draining someone of their life force. That's bad and all, but hands up for anyone who thinks that Agatha was in any way wrong about those suppositions, because I've seen how this turns out, and Agatha was not wrong. She saw what was happening ahead of time. So yeah, no, this was not Wanda getting even for what she did, for what Agatha did to her. This is Agatha trying to help Wanda in a somewhat toxic, inadvertent way, and Wanda throwing a hissy fit regardless. As Agatha says, "You're not merciful, you're cruel." Which, again, laugh not at this woman, for she is not wrong. Moving on.
Right, okay. But what we want to know after the events in these two MCU adventures is how Agatha will break free. She should be under Wanda's spell, and Coven of Chaos will address that. Before we get to the actual plot link, we'll jump right to one of the big reveals in it. One that we already covered. Wanda will return to the MCU via Coven of Chaos, Episode 9 cameo. But we'll learn well before that Agatha broke free of Wanda's spell. The second, the Scarlet Witch broke the Darkhold and seemingly died in Multiverse Madness.
Okay, yeah, she didn't. We all knew she didn't die at the end of Multiverse of Madness, because there was the giant puff of teleportation smoke, which has been a shorthand for teleportation magic since Wizard of Oz. Also, this is where the mistakes begin, because here's the thing. What I think this show should be about, in a straightforward sense, is in the comics, Agatha is one of Wanda's teachers. She's one of the people Wanda goes to learn more about how to use her powers properly, which would make sense if she's, grief-stricken by what she's done at the behest of the Darkhold at the end of Multiverse of Madness. Her going looking for someone to teach her how to use her powers makes sense. Also, it makes sense because Agatha knew this was coming at the end of WandaVision and said, you can't get rid of me yet, you still need me. And then, of course, Wanda retorts, well, then at least this way I'll know where to find you. And then she puts the nosy neighbor character spell upon her. But that's neither here nor there. This movie should basically be about Agatha acting as Wanda's teacher, and the show should basically be Agatha acting as Wanda's teacher and Wanda going through a redemption arc. Because, again, the best episode of WandaVision was, or at least primarily involved, Agatha taking Wanda to witch school, in the sense of like teaching her basic bitch shit that she should already know about her powers, but she doesn't, and then using a spell to probe Wanda's memories and basically act as her own personal ghost of Christmas past. And given that that's the episode everyone likes the best, and it's the episode that the writer of the new show was responsible for, that should be the basic premise of this show: is Wanda seeks redemption, Agatha takes her to witch school, basically. And in the process, we learn more about both Agatha and Wanda, and of course how magic works. So I question the logic of leaving Wanda out until episode 9. I could see maybe the first 2 episodes just being used to set up Agatha, presumably because these are only going to be a half an hour each, not an hour each. So like you could do a 2-part pilot that's mostly just focused on Agatha, and then have Wanda show up at the end or in the post credits of episode 2, begging Agatha to teach her. That would be how I would play this. I don't see the logic of forestalling that until episode 9, because the relationship between Wanda, Agatha, and the practice of witchcraft should be the main driving force. That and Wanda seeking redemption through study. Anyway, moving on.
The Agatha Coven of Chaos plot leak. The information comes from a leaker known on Twitter as Great Phase, who posted detailed information about the Coven of Chaos plot in the past few days. Granted, this a couple months ago. So, okay. Divinity Seeker 1. Okay, here's all I know about Agatha Coven of Chaos. It's said immediately after the events of Multiverse of Madness, where Wanda's death has unshackled the hold she had on Agatha. Agatha originally attempts to hide, but quickly discovers Rescue is rallying behind her as a hero.
See, that also makes me go, what the fuck are you doing? Because here's what I would like to. Again, I hate to be so, for lack of a better word, subjective, but I have reasons for why I want to see what I want to see, which is Agatha acting like, or Agatha being taken as a hero. I can't buy, because not even Agatha sees herself as a hero. She acknowledges that she's somewhat villainous. She just thinks that she's the best vessel for the powers that she steals from people. But again, as we just went over, very often she's right, and very often she takes people's powers away in order to prevent them from hurting themselves and others, like Wanda did. So there's that. I would like to see again basically do Agatha's version of WandaVision, where instead of turning Westview into a more traditional style sitcom, she basically turns it into a riff off of the Addams Family or the Munsters, where she controls the city as its essential witch mistress. But you could still do she is better at it than Wanda. You could still do people are more grateful to Agatha than she is. I just don't think that you should try to cast Agatha in a heroic role. I think Agatha works best as either a anti-hero or a complex villain. And straddling the line between them works best, I think.
Was also an anti-villain, which let me actually look up that definition because I am loosely capable of understanding that term.
Yeah, she doesn't have to be mustache ruling the evil because that's not how Agatha works in the comics either. For example, she does for a while serve Mephisto when Vision and Wanda have their kids originally in the comics, but she also later on proceeds to be or actually no, I think this was before that she was basically the Mary Poppins to Franklin and Valeria Richards,
right.
and was Sue Storm and Reed Richards' nanny. So yeah, she's not unambiguously evil, so you don't have to make her unambiguously evil. But trying to, especially given how over the top and sort of pantomime she is the character in the MCU, trying to frame her as the hero or trying to give her main character energy or main hero energy doesn't work.
Right. Okay. An anti-villain is an antagonist who has or may have noble or honorable aims, but pursues them destructively.
That's probably, again, straddling the line between anti-hero and anti-villain is basically where Agatha sits. And she does want control and she does want power, and I imagine she would go overboard just because she spent 18 months under Wanda's spell as the nosy neighbor character, and she's just happy to have her powers back. So I could see her playing with the inhabitants of Westview in her own way, but I can't see her honestly being treated as a hero. But then again, I guess the logic is that the people of Westview saw Agatha fighting Wanda, and Wanda was the one making their lives miserable for months. So yeah, but I don't. The inhabitants of Westview can be mistaken about her being a hero, but I don't want her to actually be heroic, I guess is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of like Yzma or Wuya or those kind of characters where she wants to rule over everything, but having her rule over everything might not be bad, actually, I guess, is the best way of putting it.
Sorry, I'm eating dinner right now.
Ah, okay. Well, whenever you're ready, we can move on.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Okay, the leaker said that Agatha's first reaction after she becomes free is to hide. But Westview hails her as a hero, and she'll use recognition to her advantage. From the looks of it, Covenant of Chaos will not be a show about a villain. Agatha will become a hero, fighting alongside Wanda and Billy.
See, I hate that. I hate that. One, her first instinct would not be to hide. Her first instinct would be to take over because she would assume because of the she would assume from the generic, when a practitioner dies, their spells are broken logic that Wanda was dead, and here is a recently traumatized village of people who actually do see her as a hero. So I think Agatha her first instinct would be to basically do what Wanda did but better, or to the very least reestablish her um reestablish her own uh workshop isn't the right word for a witch's cottage, but yeah, basically to rebuild a witch's cottage from which she can practice would probably be her first instinct from everything we know of her so far. I don't see why she would be trying to hide it, especially if she thinks Wanda's dead and everyone else in Westview is normal for the most part. Like she's never even if she decided to stay in Westview, I think it would be because she would be looking for a new place to put new her next witch's cottage. But what do I know? Moving on.
It was just too. I'll be honest. I was assuming you were going to talk a lot longer.
Yeah. I can, but I'm always in the back of my mind. I'm always thinking, okay, when is he gonna try to cut me off?
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to eat too fast, obviously, because that could cause a problem.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway.
I thought you ate before stream. That's why you had the hiccups before.
I did, but that was more of a snack, and this is dinner.
I see.
Yeah.
But yeah, long story short, is framing Agatha as a hero not good. She works as a fun villain who's the smartest person in the room. Play with like that's the thing. The thing we like about Agatha is that she is like Maleficent, like Ursula, like Yzma, like I keep thinking of like Disney villains, but another example would be Wuya. Another example would be um an, another example would be kind of Hama from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like that, she's that kind of character. She's a character who people can go to for advice. That's also unapologetically a very stereotypical witch, and I think that's actually part of her identity is that she embraces being every stereotype of a witch you can imagine, while also still kind of having that dark dark version of a fairy godmother vibe to her. Like she almost reminds me of an evil version of the fairy godmother from Cinderella, like Disney Cinderella.
Oh, so from Shrek 2 then.
No.
Oh.
No, because they changed her character. I'm talking about literally a morally flipped version of like she still has that almost like old school grandmother vibe to her, but the 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 Shrek fairy godmother was a businesswoman. I'm talking about she still has that like nurturing grandmotherly vibe to her in like in the old school like 1950 sense, but she just happens to be evil.
Right, I get you. I get as
Yeah.
you said evil fairy godmother, so my mind automatically went to Shrek 2.
I mean, just wait until you meet Leah from the Dresden Files, but that's a different conversation entirely.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. here's where the show really deviates from the source material. She has an adopted son, and no, not Nicholas Scratch, but a boy played by Joe Rock, who they both do not realize is a reincarnation of the mythical figure of the prophecy of Wiccan. Agatha is his mother.
That's remarkably stupid. That creates way too many plot holes. If Wiccan in this universe was originally created through magic, how could he reincarnate given that he wasn't he wasn't conceived in a traditional physiological way. He was a magical construct. And you're telling me that there's a prophecy of Wiccan now? Like the prophecy of Scarlet Witch I could get. That's because she's the avatar of Cthon on Earth. That's because he wrote the Darkhold specifically for her. That's because he intended to use her all along, and he's an ancient deity. That makes sense, but Wiccan having a prophecy, I don't buy.
I mean, feel free to tell me I'm full of shit and curse me out if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But to my knowledge, and granted, it is very limited knowledge of Wiccan from the comics, right? I wouldn't say it's a prophecy, obviously. I think that is stupid, right? I don't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But Wiccan himself is kind of regarded as one, just like his mother, again, in comic at least, is regarded as one of the most powerful magical beings in Marvel
Universe. Yeah, because she essentially makes him from her essence, more or less.
Right, and he is seen as a suitable heir to a suitable person to take up the Sorcerer Supreme mantle at some point. Am I wrong in that, or?
Because the writers forgot what Sorcerer Supreme actually freaking means, and they just think it means the most powerful magic user.
Okay, that's fair. I was just going off what I knew, so I'm
right. But my point is that if Wanda doesn't have biological children, where the fuck is he supposed to come from? And more importantly, who were his original biological parents? Because if Agatha adopts him and becomes a mother figure to him, that, I guess, is an extension of her being kind of the magical nanny of the Marvel Universe. That kind of could work. But it raises questions about, okay, obviously his powers have to come from somewhere, so where in the hell is he getting his powers from? Presumably from his bloodline somewhere, hence the question of who the fuck were his original biological parents. And why the hell does this random kid from completely different biological parents resemble so much Wanda's fake child, and or how does he become Agatha's adopted child? Also, I'm 90% sure that if she was going to adopt a child, she might be persuaded to care about him, but originally I'm guessing her plan was to drain him dry when he came of age and came of his powers. Like that. This raises more questions than it answers, and even the questions it raises are stupid.
Okay. Luna?
Yeah, moving on.
Okay. Billy already has a boyfriend when the show begins, and they will be connected romantically throughout the entire series. But he is revealed to be working for Aubrey Plaza in episode 7 and had planned his encounter with a vulnerable Billy who had just come out.
Okay, here's the problem. You're not letting Agatha actually be Agatha. You're not letting her keep the things people liked about her as a character. You're essentially shoehorning in Wiccan here for no reason, and you're connecting. First of all, you're making the mistake of having Agatha be having Agatha be Wiccan's adoptive mother first, and so they're basically going to have to fight over who gets custody of him, which is just stupid. And then there's this other secondary villain who isn't Chthon for some reason, even though this is called Coven of Chaos and features the return of the Scarlet Witch post Darkhold possession. Like in my head, given this whole thing of they have to team up eventually, which does make sense, especially if you did it my way of Agatha essentially finishes Wanda's training for her. I could see that because both Wanda and Agatha have been to varying degrees corrupted by the Darkhold, they would be wanting to take the fight to Chthon. I could see that. I could also see Wanda going to Agatha and trying to figure out a way to make her children permanent, and therefore she could be the one that creates Wiccan from scratch again, but this time he's an actual real being. Also, as the person who wrote the article suggested, Agatha already has a son. His name is Nicholas Scratch, and yes, that's a play on the devil, or the name, or one of the many pseudonyms of the devil.
I remember hearing a fan theory that Evan Peters, who was playing Quicksilver,
was Nicholas Scratch. Yeah, that theory would have made so much more sense than what actually happened.
Yeah.
Because no reason boner.
I did also want to bring up the whole shoehorning, and like what you said earlier, that has been a thing that's been happening lately, and a lot of Marvel properties, to be fair.
Well, it's not just that you're shoehorning in a villain. This is supposed to be a show about a character who is at least nominally up until this point villainess. So why shouldn't? Also, again, you really should be going the Addams Family-ish route where we see her villainy from inside her, from her perspective, and it's not actually that villainous. Like, or another good example of how to do this properly: the Sanderson sisters. Yes, they're over the top. Yes, they're goofy. Yes, they're cartoon witches, but they're still doing fairly serious shit at the end of the day. That's kind of the route you should go with Agatha. She should be kind of the fourth Sanderson sister. And then we could explore her backstory more through flashbacks and stuff as things go by. And again, Wanda shows up begging for redemption, begging to be trained. Agatha eventually assents to this, and then we get an extended version of the cool parts of WandaVision episode 8, where she takes Wanda to witch school and helps her with a personal trauma.
It makes a lot of sense, if anything, take inspiration from Werewolf by Night for this show.
Yeah. Also, this would be a perfect place to set up Blade too, while we're talking about how this could connect like what wider parts of the MCU. This would be a perfect place to set up Blade. It would be a perfect place to bring or to reference Werewolf by Night and Man-Thing again, basically the monstrous and supernatural parts of the MCU. And it'd be a perfect place to finally get more of a concrete handle on either magic in general, or, especially considering how many people were confused about this in Multiverse Madness, the differences between sorcery in the MCU and witchcraft in the MCU.
Right. Anyway.
Moving on.
Okay. This Billy is indeed Wiccan, but he's not Wanda's son. And Tommy will not appear in Coven of Chaos if the leak is accurate. Instead, Billy is Agatha's adopted son, which is another exciting twist. Moreover, Billy has
exciting, remarkably stupid, come see, come saw.
Moreover, Billy has a boyfriend who actually works for Aubrey Plaza's, which shows villain. Okay.
Again, why is this not a sympathy for the villain show? Why does this need a secondary villain? And by the way, even if you needed a secondary villain in an Agatha show, you already have it, given, I don't know, the fact that she was tortured by the Scarlet Witch, who is now coming to her for redemption and training. You could mine all the kinds of drama out of that, but no random secondary villain, because fucking stupid. We can't have fun, seeing where the villain is coming from, or watching the villain have fun being the villain, and we can't have the villain fighting another villain for basically how dare you after what you did to me reasons, which would have made total sense. God damn it.
Sorry, I did want to mention something before we veered off or something. Well, okay, so I'm gonna look at. I'm kind of trying to look at that plot idea or leak, I suppose, from a writer's perspective. Necessarily, you don't have to do a villain. It's something I kind of theorized when we talked about Black Adam, of like how the protagonist can be a villain, but the antagonist, again, the antagonist doesn't necessarily have to be a villain. It's more so someone or something that challenges the protagonist, which in this case would have been or should have been Agatha, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Granted, you could have two villains against each other. That happens, and that would
which would have been the Wanda showing up and then them having to essentially hash it out, and we could have seen more complex witch fights between them.
And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that idea. But my point being is, I agree with Dawn on the fact that you shouldn't have heroified. No, that's not the word. Personified Agatha Harkness as heroic.
Yeah. Not only does it reframe things entirely, but it also it misunderstands what people like about Agatha. What people like about Agatha is that she can simultaneously be the nurturing, almost grandmotherly figure, like the old school 1950s grandma, and also be an over the top, Hansel and Gretel style, come into my cottage, kiddies, witch. It's interesting that she can straddle that line between both, and that we're actually mostly on her side in at least in episode 8 of WandaVision, because she's the only one talking sense. And you can have villains. You can have essentially it's fun to root for the villains, because sometimes the things people relate to aren't morality. Sometimes what people relate to are spite, are reason, are feeling put upon, feeling spited, feeling. It's the reason why a lot of people relate to Squidward rather than SpongeBob, because even though SpongeBob is the optimistic, purer than driven snow character, at least ostensibly, Squidward talks more sense and relates to more nuances of what it is to be human. Same thing with someone like Ursula or Maleficent. We can relate to the fact that they are living a life of luxury and having fun with it and being spiteful and vindictive, something that hero characters very rarely, if ever, have. They don't have the nuances of, this makes me angry, so I'm going to indulge. Like, relating to the villain has to do with relating to the negative aspects of human emotion, and it also has to do with the idea of self-interest and with indulgence. Villains get to indulge. That's why most of the time villains have the nicest clothes, the coolest powers, the most elaborate artifacts, some kind of position of authority, be it royalty, be it an advisor to royalty, be it whatever. We like seeing characters who are willing to voice the humanity. Villains actually, in some ways, are more human than heroes, because heroes have to aspire to a higher standard. But sometimes that higher standard can feel very hollow, feel very unhuman. So having the villain there to both act as a counterweight to the hero, but also to almost riff on the hero, can make the villain actually more relatable than the hero. And that's why, in a lot of cases, Disney villains are the most fun characters in their respective movies. Not all the time, mind you, but in a lot of cases, Facilier is having a hell of a lot more fun and being a lot more human than Tiana. Scar is having a lot more fun and being a lot more ostensibly human than Mufasa. Even a stick in the mud villain like Frollo can be more human because we can empathize with his wanting something that he knows he shouldn't want and the desire for order, and also again the desire for indulgence and luxury that heroes aren't ostensibly allowed to have usually. Because humility is what defines a hero. Indulgence is very often what defines a villain. And the part of humanity that craves indulgence very often relates to the villain more than the hero. And also, villains tend to be smarter, which allows them to make decent observations.
You good now?
Yeah, sorry. Moving on.
No, it's fine. All good.
My point is that by turning her into a hero, you're robbing her of that outsider perspective that she has that makes her so relatable and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The part of us that likes indulgence, the part of us that likes riffing off of people who are too high on the moral high horse and so on. Tearing down the people who are too up their own ass. That's what a good villain can do very easily. That's also why a lot of the versions of the Joker are sometimes more relatable than the Batman they fight.
I think that's because no one really gets Batman, to be fair.
I mean, yeah, but it's also because we never see the writing try to make us get Batman either.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, more plot leads. I did. The Coven, in air quotes, and Agatha are seemingly bad, but in episode 8, we actually discover that they're good people with good intentions because they don't want to harness the power of Wiccan. They want to worship him. Episode 8 is the musical episode, and Patty Lukewarm is the leader of the Coven.
Okay. I'm amused by the idea of a musical episode. I am. Like many of my favorite episodes of many shows are the musical episodes, like Buffy's Once More with Feeling, Batman the Brave and the Bold's Mayhem of the Music Meister, so
Flash.
I never watched the Flash one.
Not
so bad.
I've only watched like the clips of the songs. I've never actually said that. I'll be honest. I stopped watching the Flash after like second season.
Even Powerpuff Girls had a pretty kick-ass musical episode that got blacklisted because it gave people epileptic seizures because of the flashing lights, and also because of the possible implication to communism. But in any case, I like the idea of doing a musical episode, especially with characters that can do, massive web weaving, reality altering spells, which usually is how you do a musical well. The Magicians was very good at this. There's literally a spell that turns real life into a musical in the Magicians universe. And if I only could cast one spell from the Magicians universe, I think it would be that spell.
I would end you if you use that.
But could you in a emotionally cathartic and choreographed way? Because if not, then you can't do it in a musical. You'd have a power ballad about ending me. It would end in a punch.
Yeah. No, it'd be rock ballad actually, because that's my thing. It'd be terrible. I am not a singer nor a dancer, so.
Everyone sings on key in musicals. Don't worry about it. That's part of the spell.
Anyway, I don't really have anything to say that. I think again, it's just
The basic plot. The basic plot leak sounds stupid and sounds like it needs to be rewritten.
Yeah, it's like kind of first draft, right? Like that tends to be a thing we've noticed.
Yeah, that's a consistent theme with modern day Hollywood and modern day writers in general. No one ever told them don't publish your first draft, or at the very least brainstorm for a little bit. Don't go with your first instinctive idea. Which not to toot our own horn here is why Brainstorm and I are better writers than these people. It's not because we're super smart or super with it or super educated on the intricacies of writing. It's because we don't normally go with our first instinct. We try to look for the underlying connections to things that happen organically. And that's the other thing. Writers today need to learn that sometimes things happen organically and you don't need to deliberately subvert and spite shit.
Right. Anyway, moving on or anything else?
Yeah, moving on.
Okay. This is supposed to be a twist because we're under the assumption the entire time that the Covenant are out to take down Agatha and Billy. The real danger is in Aubrey Plaza, who is a rogue witch. Okay.
Again, why is she here? Why do I care? And who? Like, it would be one thing if I knew what character she was playing. Like, if she was the MCU's Morgan Le Fay, okay, that works. If she was the Enchantress, okay, that works. If she was even someone really random like Topaz, that could work. Or hell, if you had Charlize Theron in the series, and then it was revealed it was Clea all along, which they would totally have to do a remix version of. I want that so much, but like any of these could work. But the fact that you're just calling her Aubrey Plaza and not telling me what character she's playing doesn't give me the ability to fill in the blanks for you. And you need me to fill in the blanks for you because right now, on paper, this sounds shit. And like as Brainstormer and I just went over, a first draft where you only ever went with your first instinct and think about in-universe logic, wider implications, organic feel, or like world building mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Or character motivations come to that because you're turning Agatha into a hero when she's not one. So you have failed on all of the most important bits for either my criteria or Brainstormer's criteria.
Mm.
And again, not to shoot our own horn here, but something tells me those criteria are important and aren't just us being subjective about it.
Right. Moving on or?
Yeah, moving on.
All right. We'll discover late in the series that the Covenant members aren't the TV show's villains. They are a group of people who want to worship Billy. But Plaza plays a rogue witch who is the main villain in the series. Yet again, the leaker also says that Evan Peters will appear as an awkward Ralph Bohner in Coven of Chaos, and we'll learn that he's not really Ralph Bohner. Yeah.
Okay, there are a few things you can do here that will make me not hate this. I don't have faith in your ability to do them. You could make him Mephisto, you could make him Chthon, you could make him Nightmare, you could make him Nicholas Scratch, and actually introduce that Agatha does have a son all along. Like, that is pretty much the only way I will accept Evan Peters even remaining in this show. Honestly, frankly, you should just cut your losses entirely. Everyone hated the Ralph Bohner thing. It amounted to nothing and pissed everyone off and made all those hours of fanboying and fan theory making not just irrelevant, but pissed all over them. So, for the love of God, cut your losses. Unless you're literally gonna tell us that we were right all along and that he really was Chthon, or he really was Mephisto, or he really was Nightmare. Those were the three big fan theories that people had. I would lean towards Chthon because you've already set up Chthon properly, and he was the original writer of the Darkhold. So having Wanda and Agatha realize that he's been here all along and realize that they have to team up to fight the guy who wrote the Darkhold, and also the guy who created and essentially conceived Wanda. That would be cool. Like Wanda doing her "you took everything away from me" like she did with Thanos, but doing it to Chthon, the person from whom her powers come. That'd be really cool, and would actually be a substantive redemption arc for her. But unless you're gonna basically do that, and you're gonna take yet another mulligan and go, sorry we dicked around with your emotions and your effort, guys. You were right all along. We were really stupid for trying to one up you with this literally sapient boner joke. Unless you're gonna do that, there is absolutely no reason for you not to ignore the Evan Peters Ralph Boner joke like it was the goddamn plague. But if I see Ralph Boner as anything other than those 4 or 5 options, or something cleverer than those 4 or 5 options, which you could do, but I'm not holding my breath by any stretch of the imagination. If I don't see one of those 4 options or something better or equally valid than those 4 options, I am going to murder all of you. It will be done by curse, so you will never be able to prosecute me, but I will murder all of you.
You do realize that this was recorded, right?
Yeah, but the legal system would either have to admit that they believe at an institutional level in magic and demonstrate that my curse was effective, or chalk it up to coincidence. So, neener. Which is it going to be? Are you as the U.S. legal system going to admit that magic exists and admit that there are things outside of science's purview, or are we going to go full Salem, which you would never get away with for humanitarian reasons, or am I going to get away with it on the grounds of, well, yeah, they all died, and he said he was going to kill them with a curse, but it's obviously coincidence, derp.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't dick around with my. The point of that incredibly dark joke that I just made was that don't dick around with my fan investment a second time. I already consider the Ralph Boner situation to be ungoddamn forgivable, and so do everyone else. If you do it to us a second time, your studio will probably be burnt to the ground by a mob of angry fans. And this particular angry mob I will be in support of. For this one time and one time only. Because when you're that stupid, it amounts to Darwin Award. If you're that unself-aware and that insistent on giving people a middle finger, then you fail. But whatever. Moving on.
Right. What Wanda makes a surprise return in episode 9, revealing she did not die in Multiverse Madness, but was merely depowered and teams up with Agatha to take out the Coven as they both find common ground as a mother figure to Billy. Evan Peters also appears in the series as an awakened Ralph Boner, who actually is not Ralph Boner. Or Bonner, I think. I think it's actually Bonner.
No, it's Boner because they deliberately wanted to give the audience the finger. They made a Boner joke. You see why I will never let this go until they fix it.
Yep.
So, in other words, fix it or death by scientifically unplausible curse.
Right. I don't really have anything, I think
those are your options.
I think we already covered what we wanted to say about the leaks that just were mentioned. So
yeah. Moving on. And I guess this is a good point to segue into the second article. The reason why we're covering this twice or in 2 articles is because shortly after this article was released, it was announced that Agatha Coven of Chaos was getting moved back in the production schedule for story reasons. And given the story stupidity we just went over, this single-handedly reaffirmed my faith in Marvel for 5 seconds. Granted, there is a possibility they could make it worse by making a second draft, and I wouldn't want that, but there's also the possibility that they will catch the mistakes that we caught and fix them. So you may have escaped getting your studio burnt to the ground this time, Marvel.
Anyway. Mm-hmm. The Agatha Coven of Chaos plot leak also teases other exciting cameos for this MCU adventure. Mephisto will reportedly appear in the finale, offering Wanda her powers back. Apparently, Wanda will be depowered after the events in Multiverse Madness. She will not descend into madness again, however, choosing to fight alongside Agatha and Billy in Coven of Chaos.
Okay, so they might potentially actually be retconning Evan Peters as Mephisto, proving that the audience was right all along, and or apologizing profusely for the stupid boner joke. If that happens, all will be mostly forgiven, although I question why you would have Mephisto and Chthon going simultaneously. Unless you stupidly make them the same character, which I will hate. Anyway, moving forward. I'm assuming Brainstormer left to take care of his plate or something, and he'll be right back.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I almost tripped, actually.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Well, I don't think too easy of a joke, but my legs are not used to sitting for very long.
Uh-huh.
Also, I think they're still kind of sore from going on those walks a few days ago. So.
Well, it's good for you. It will hopefully restore your sleep schedule to something resembling normal.
No, my sleep, even before I went walking, yeah, I had a pretty steady sleep schedule. Usually waking up around, or going to bed around like 12 or so, and waking up around like 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been like that for about a month or so now. Although last daylight saving time kind of fucked me up a bit.
Yeah, it did that to me too, because the clock in the bathroom where I take my baths used to be an hour fast, and now it's just on time. So like I had to rush through the last part of my bath because I realized, oh shit, that clock says it's 7:30 and it actually is 7:30. God damn it.
Yeah. And one thing is, I was up when the time actually changed.
Mm.
That confused the hell out of me. So technically, I went to bed at 4 a.m. instead of 3. I had a little trouble sleeping. To be fair.
Mm. I didn't go to sleep until like 11 o'clock this morning, so
yeah.
I woke up at like 4:30. So
I mean, I still got up around 8, so I was good.
Mm-hmm.
So I technically only had 4 hours of sleep, and I've been up all day.
Daylight savings time is completely pointless. I really think we should abolish it at this point.
I'm fine when we get an extra hour, like when the clocks go back. I'm fine with that. It's just moving the clocks forward is a bit of bullshit to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, Benjamin Franklin originally conceived daylight savings time as a way to allow farmers to get home an hour early from school, so that they could help their families with, harvesting things.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course in winter there are only so many hours of daylight. But farming is not something that most people do now, and even most farmers, we have electric lights and stuff, so there's no real point to overemphasizing the daylight hours anymore. So why not get rid of it?
Anyway, we got it. We got moved.
Yep. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. So Mephisto appears in the finale, but it is not the focus of the series, which is stupid. His story continues elsewhere. His appearance is merely a cameo with the intention of recruiting Wanda and restoring her powers. Who, at the last second, chooses Agatha and Billy, not Mephisto. She has no powers. Agatha is not an anti-hero or villain in the story. She is actually deemed a hero by many. This is a very swift turn to the good side. She creates a new outfit for herself with hints of purple and silver, and is more fitted outfit than a dress, no shoulder pieces.
Okay. Hate all of that. Number one, if you're gonna introduce Mephisto, don't blue ball us again. Number two, why is it Mephisto and not Chthon? You already had Chthon there. Use what you have. Don't overcomplicate shit. Number three, why does Wanda not have any powers? Number four, Agatha straddles the line between anti-hero and anti-villain. And removing that from her character takes down the fun, spiteful, indulgent, snarky, almost riffing qualities of her that we like in our villains. If anything, what you should be doing is going basically in the same way that WandaVision was the superhero equivalent to the Dick Van Dyke Show. Agatha Coven of Chaos should be the superhero or supervillain equivalent of the Addams Family or Goosebumps or Monsters, or the kind of thing where it's dark and it's scary, but it's in on the joke. Like it's sort of a self-aware sort of it's a self-aware sort of evil, the kind you get from Draken and Doofenshmirtz, and again the Addams and the Monsters and that sort of thing. She's a monster. She enjoys being a monster. She has fun being a monster. Again, also think of the Sanderson sisters, but it's in a very goofy, over the top way, so it's not like super edgy dark. Yeah, let us sympathize with the villain and have fun, with the villain's over the top schemes rather than trying to force her into. Basically, do with Agatha what they do some of the time with Rumpelstiltskin and Once Upon a Time, and other times they humanize him way too much and make him too much of a goody-goody and it ruins him. But you could easily have a villain main character that's having fun with her villainy and not make it an issue, especially when you have the conflict between her and Wanda, the conflict between her and this other potential coven of witches, and so on and so forth. Yep. They don't have to be more villainous than her for us to root for her. She just has to be the more fun, interesting, and smart villain character. Because a competent villain is much more fun to watch than an incompetent villain. As fun as an incompetent villain can also be sometimes.
Just want to add. There was nope, I can't remember. Damn. Moreover, an unnamed famous Disney star who is still a popular artist today should appear in the show. He or she will play a member of the Coven, apparently. How Coven of Chaos ends. Again, I really just like House of Harkness. I don't know. It's just it.
Again, it gives almost a Addams Family or Monsters vibe.
Well, not even just that. It also just, I think, rolls off the tongue a bit better.
A bit, yeah. Although I get it, because Coven of Chaos evokes chaos magic, and also the fact that witches, group themselves in covens, so that works.
That's fair. I don't know. Maybe it's just me because it sounds a little more. It's gonna sound weird.
It does evoke more the like haunted house aspect of it. Yeah, I get you.
No, I was gonna say aristocratic, like
as though like the lineage of Harkness was really important. And given what we saw with Agatha's mother in the flashbacks of WandaVision, that also could have worked. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
you could have even given Agatha some. You could have even expanded on the backstory elements we got in WandaVision episode 8 and explained how Agatha basically turned evil by being the Carrie White of Salem. That could have worked too. But yeah, this is mostly irrelevant anyway because, as the second article is going to inform us, they're pushing this back so they can rewrite the shit out of it. So,
yeah, we'll get into it, obviously, but we're still working on this one.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. How Covenant of Chaos ends. If plot leak is accurate, Covenant of Chaos will end with Agatha, Wanda, and Billy together. The screenplay ends with the three potentially looking for Billy's brother in their next quest. Bolded, underlined, Baker says. Yeah, the Covenant is a bit of a multiverse madness itself, but not with Marvel cameos, but celebrity cameos. The biggest of which is a famous Disney star who is still a popular artist today. And the production script is not shown who plays them, but it's visible in the call sheets.
So, who are we thinking? Are we thinking Miley Cyrus or are we thinking Cole Sprouse? Because artist implies a musical artist, but I could also see them pulling Cole Sprouse in because he's popular because of Riverdale. So a Disney star still functioning as a popular artist. That I would say Miley Cyrus, but then again, she already voiced the robot. Yeah, in the Guardians 3000 / Ravengers team.
Yeah. I wish they would. I kind of wish they have them appear, get a little more in depth with them in Guardians 3. No, it doesn't look like that, obviously.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, but it would make sense. Anyway, I guess I could do Ashley Tisdale because she went on to she was Maddie and Sharpay and Candace, and she also did have a musical career for like 5 seconds.
I'm not really gonna take a guess just because any guess we take will more than likely not be. Honestly, I would say Miley Cyrus just because I've seen ads of her apparently going on Disney Plus and like have a show there and stuff.
So they might do that for synergy. Honestly, I don't care really anyway. The only characters I care about in Agatha Covenant of Chaos, at least from the start, are Agatha herself, Wanda, and Wiccan, and whichever demon they're gonna make Ralph Bohner into. Hopefully, like those are the only 4 characters I care about. I don't even care about this secondary witch character that they feel they need to shoehorn in for no reason. Which again, they might not because they're rewriting it, but whatever.
Right. I mean, I would say they would probably keep just basically because they did sign on the actress already.
It depends on how much they want to restructure, and given this happened right after Ant-Man 3 underperformed, and they also pushed back the Marvels. I'm betting it's also going to have to do with how well the Marvels does, which is probably not going to be all that well. So they might basically retool it entirely to try and right the ship, which at this point would be the correct move. They've needed that for a while.
Right. Anyway, Joey.
Yep.
Tommy/Speed should appear in Vision Quest, TV show that Marvel is yet to announce. Elizabeth Olsen should also star in the show, and that's where she'll realize that she had her powers all along. After the first madness, the trauma and fear of destruction prevented her from manifesting them.
Okay, that makes sense because why her powers would all of a sudden be missing makes no sense. So
Yeah.
fair enough. That part actually works.
The events of Agatha Coming to Chaos will tie right into Vision Quest if this Lucas plot information is accurate, and White Vision will apparently end up forming the Young Avengers group.
Okay, I have a question about Wiccan's boyfriend. Are they or are they not going to give me my boys? That is the only other question I have is, are they going to give me my boys or not? Because I want my boys. Yeah, moving forward though.
Yeah. Okay. No, he's not part of the Avengers, and Wanda, Agatha, and Billy are not meant to be a focal point of this story. Vision is actually going to be the guiding voice for the Young Avengers, so this is their origin story, or prequel. Expect Kate, Clint, and Cassie to appear here.
Wait, so they're using Vision Quest as a means to set up Young Avengers and not making it Vision story primarily? What the fuck?
You realize they've been doing that for a while, right?
Right, but it's called Vision Quest, hence Vision's quest for identity that was established at the end of WandaVision should probably be the main focus.
Right.
And if this ties into WandaVision and into Agatha, then fuck you, Agatha, Wanda, and Billy should be somewhat main characters. Granted, again, asterisks here that they're going to rewrite everything, so they might fix it.
Okay. Hello, Chrononaut, and yes, what happened? We're not entirely sure ourselves because, well, we're doing this. But I did check, and yeah, still he's streaming now. I don't know what happened. So
Yeah, I'll ask him about it later. At this point, I don't really care.
That said, all of this is speculation at this point. If the infill is accurate, we expect all the action to unfold before King Dynasty and Secret Wars. That's where we'll need the Young Avengers. I think that's it.
I just don't care. Like, unless you give me my boys, I really don't have any reason to care about Young Avengers. And I have the worst feeling you're going to replace Hulkling with Scar. You're going to replace Teddy with Scar and make him Hulkling instead, which I will hate. Anyway, on to the other thing, because of course, as I've alluded to a couple of times, Agatha Coven of Chaos has gotten delayed, and the reason is allegedly for story reasons, which, given the lay massery that was the story leaks just a minute ago, I can understand that.
I give it a second. It's still loading.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there has been a weird thing I've noticed with like kind of Phase 4 or all a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's, I think I've said it before, but there does seem to be a little bit of a narrative incoherence.
Yeah. They published the first draft a lot more, it seems. They didn't polish things up as nicely as they should have.
Right. And
although technically we're in Phase 5 now, because Ant-Man was the start of Phase 5.
um as I was where I was continuing with, yeah, there seems to be a lot of narrative incoherence, and I want to say dissonance, but I'm not sure if that's accurate. To be fair, um, it feels like, and I think this has been said many times before, but it's what's the word? Sorry, my mind's blanking. Right. It felt like they didn't really know what they were doing after Endgame, kind of.
Everything was kind of just shooting from the hip.
Yeah. And also, I mean, don't get me wrong. This was kind of a problem that some people brought up years ago, and I'm starting to kind of get it now. I don't necessarily fully agree, but I kind of see the point. Intertextuality of the shows. Like, basically, you have to watch all these other ones to understand what is going on currently. Now,
that's not a negative if all the shows are good, but if the quality isn't consistent or some of them are outright bad, then that can poison your entire. The problem with intertextuality is it works as long as all of the variables are good, but bad things have a tendency to spread further than they should.
Yeah, but also the thing is the over reliance of it now as well, because while there was some intertextuality between the earlier phases, every project could still stand on its own 2 feet effectively. And sure, sequels and stuff, but that's kind of just a given. But
again, I would attribute it more to a quality issue than an intertextuality issue, because again, if everything was worth watching and every Marvel show was the greatest thing since Game of Thrones or some shit, I don't think anyone would care.
2 things. One, early Game of Thrones, obviously.
Yeah, excluding the last season, like it killed that with Dragonfire, as far as I'm concerned.
And the second thing was, yeah, that was kind of my point. I guess I was getting at was mainly it is kind of a quality thing as well.
Yeah, because it used to be when they fucked up, like with Thor: The Dark World, or like with Age of Ultron, they could kind of just ignore it and do better next time, and everyone would just kind of go, okay, they fixed it, it's no problem. But now, especially because there is this moral dimension to it with all the social justice crap, and with the spiting your fans is actually a virtue crap, they can't backpedal on shit they do wrong now, because they view it as conceding ground in some kind of war.
Right.
Whereas before they could concede ground on shit they did wrong because they actually had it right before, where they went, oh, the thing we didn't resonate well with the fan. Well, let's ignore the things that don't resonate well and overemphasize the things that do resonate well. Cool.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's not funny. Okay. So it's from the direct.com. Dalton sent this to me as WandaVision's Agatha spinoff gets frustrating release update. It's written by Aaron Clarinal. If I say his name again, I'm always going to say this. If I say his name wrong, I'm sorry.
He's bad with names. Don't take it personally.
And this was posted February 22nd, 2023. So. Some of the MCU's Phase 5 shows are expected to be delayed, and a new rumor suggested that one of them is WandaVision spinoff Agatha Coven of Chaos. Set photos confirmed that Coven of Chaos is now in production, showcasing first looks of Catherine Hahn's Agatha Harkness and Joe Locke's new MCU character. Although production has started, the show's release date is still up in the air. While Marvel Studios did confirm that Covenant of Chaos was set for a winter of 2023 premiere, past rumors suggested it would be delayed to 2025, potentially after Daredevil Syndicate. So again, these are rumors, so I would suggest that people would take these with a grain of salt. Obviously, just like with the
well, it's confirmed that it got delayed. The rumors are just relating to why, I think.
Right. Okay.
And to when. We don't actually know when it's getting moved to. We just know it got moved.
Right. Well, at the very least, I do think the plot leaks, if nothing else, should be taken with a bit of grain of salt then as well. So.
Yeah. Especially because, from what I can tell, the reasoning given for why it got moved was story reasons.
Right.
Which, having gotten the gist of the story from the previous article, I can understand, and I am grateful that you would rather go through a second run of the script than release whatever that shit show would have been.
Anyway, you move on?
Yep.
Okay. Agatha, Come to Chaos gets released. Update. Entertainment scooper Casey Walsh revealed that Agatha, Come to Chaos' premiere has been changed to be determined on Marvel Studios' internal release calendar, indicating that it will likely be delayed from its previously announced winter 2023-2024 release window. Walsh also noted that this adjustment was due to story reasons.
Yeah, and again, we just went through the story. Delaying it to fix the script was a good idea.
This actually brings up an interesting question for you, Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want me to propose my own pitch for a? I want to call it House of Harkness, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, your version would stick with the old title. Yeah, but
I'm sorry. It's just like it's such a cool name, and I wish they kept it.
It gives like Haunted House or Addams Family-ish vibes.
Yeah, I get the reason, like Come on Chaos, like how you, I could get the reasoning with what you said. Obviously, that makes sense. But it's just House of Harkness sounds so fucking cool. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does. It does. It pops a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not too wordy, and it just it cements in your mind, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
God damn it! I just made more work for myself. Fuck.
Yep. So many Thursdays to come, I'm sure somehow this will end up getting fed back into the Lionhearted universe because it always does.
My mind is a gift and a curse.
And all I do is pour gasoline on the goddamn fire. So some of that blame might be my fault.
Is this what it's like to be a tortured artist? Actually, no, I'm not that depressed. So
give it time, man. You're only in your early 20s, and you're already a touch more mature than your age would normally suggest.
Oh, I don't doubt that. To be fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, last December, Disney Plus Japan released an updated MCU lineup for 2023, but it didn't include the WandaVision spinoff starring Catherine Hahn. Some have theorized that the delays across the board could have been something to do with Marvel Studios being unhappy with Phase 4, leading to the reevaluation of future releases in phases 5 and 6. I mean, yeah, that seems like a logical and reasonable business decision to do.
Yeah, course correcting is a good thing. Don't shame them for course correcting. They should course correct. What I get annoyed at is they make the wrong choice. Their choices have negative consequences, and rather than course correct and realize, and examine and figure out where they fucked up, they just go, well, obviously our audience are immoral or stupid, and we should spite them deliberately because who wants fandom in this day and age, derp. So, I'm just grateful we're not getting called isphobes and toxic fans for having issues with Phase 4 and 5.
Right.
I am curious how badly the Marvels might bomb though, considering that um considering that Miss Marvel is probably the most successful of the three, and she didn't land all that well. People are still mad at Monica over the "they'll never know what you sacrificed for them" obfuscation line at the end of WandaVision, and Captain Marvel is Captain Marvel. So that could potentially bomb even worse than Ant-Man, because people at least generally like Ant-Man and were at least excited to see Kang. I'm not sure how well the Marvels is gonna do.
Hopefully next week. I'm not gonna keep any promises on that, guys. Hopefully next week I'll be like within the week for next week we'll be able to review Ant-Man Quantumania because I haven't seen the movie yet.
Maybe we should just shelve that because frankly, I'd rather do a review for Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which comes out next week.
No, fuck. I did not know that. Anyway.
Yep, comes out next Friday, the 17th, which is also St. Patrick's Day.
So I might actually not be able to see that though. That's kind of thing.
Right, but what I mean is it's been so long since Ant-Man came out, and frankly, I think we're both more excited for Shazam 2 anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I don't want to make you sit through Ant-Man 3 just to give it a negative review.
Well, I feel as just integrity as just.
I mean, if you still want to do it, we can still do it. I was just thinking, given how long it's been, we might as well just save ourselves the work. But okay, we can still do it.
Well, it depends. I'll let you know if I see it or not, and that Shazam thing will take some time to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
moving back to the thing.
When will Marvel's Agatha Disney Plus series release? Agatha: Come to Chaos is expected to play a major role in the MCU's mystical side, but this latest update indicated that fans would need to wait to see how the show fits in the bigger picture. It's likely that the winter 2023 premiere for the WandaVision spinoff is not in the cards anymore, given that the to be determined status is due to story reasons. It's possible that production might be affected as well, leading to further delays with filming that could have set a domino effect toward its release time frame. It is unknown how Covenant of Chaos connects to the multiverse saga, but being tied to Doctor Strange 3 and the Scarlet Witch's potential rerun could be the key factors to its delay. Marvel could be taking a step back and determining the WandaVision spinoff role moving forward. At this stage, Covenant Chaos may end up being released in the latter half of Phase 5, potentially eyeing a late 2024 release, or if it's in line with the earlier rumor of 2025 premiere after Daredevil Born Again.
I still think you guys are missing a trick here. Make it tie into Blade and Werewolf by Night. Make it tie into the supernatural side of the MCU. That makes sense. Moving from witches to monsters makes perfect sense, especially considering the mystical connection has already been set up with the Bloodstone and that whole business. So, yeah, tie in Blade, damn it.
You know what?
Well, while we're talking about brand synergy, tie Blade and Agatha together. That makes sense. Also, I would have put Agatha in the Thunderbolts, but I generally only get one of these at a time. So if I had to choose between putting Agatha in Thunderbolts and tying Agatha to Blade, I'd want Agatha to be tied to Blade. So do that.
Hopefully, Marvel Studios could shed some light on the delays of Phase 5 projects during this year's San Diego Comic Con or D23 events. Okay, and that's it.
Yep.
I don't really have.
And now for the trailers.
Yeah, give me a second to set those up.
Oh dear. Today I'm full of back pain. For whatever reason. That's annoying. Yeah, I just slept on it wrong.
All right, and I know that feeling all too well. All right, so the first.
I'm not even tired. I woke up at 5 today. What the hell?
Could just be mentally tired. Doesn't have to be physical.
This is also true.
I'm always tired mentally, so.
Uh-huh. Then again, you also work yourself to death mentally, so you're excused.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fair. I can't even like argue that at all.
You're like Conan on the Wheel of Pain with that shit.
I don't get that reference.
You don't get the reference to Conan the Barbarian on the Wheel of Pain.
I haven't.
Adding the Conan movies to the list of things to tie Brainstormer to the chair and make him watch when we meet up in real life.
I feel like you keep forgetting a lot of things about me that made me not really get a lot of pop culture.
No, I know, but at some point you gotta catch up, dude.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm also busy doing a lot of other shit. So
these are lose your geek card level transgressions here.
Right. Anyway, yeah. So this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem teaser trailer. So I saw this kind of pop up on YouTube, like I think early in the week, and I just figured like it would make sense for us to cover this.
Yeah, I literally would have sent it a few days later if you hadn't sent it. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into it. I did skip ahead about 5 seconds because they did that trailer before the trailer.
The trailerception thing.
I don't. Why do like? It's not even like all trailers do this.
It's because Hollywood thinks people have such a low attention span that they need to see a money shot in the first 5 seconds or they'll tune out.
Right. Anyway. Actually, Dawn and I did have a brief discussion about this before we popped on, like before we went live. But we'll go more in depth here. Obviously, I'm just. Anyway, shall
we? Turtle soup.
I was gonna say pizza, but
turtle soup.
That's dark, man. That's fucking dark. I get the reference, but goddamn, that's dark.
All I can think of is Remy Bucks of Plenty from the Fairly Odd Parents. Who wants turtle soup? No, I have some sexy teeth.
Like it's a whole thing within the TMNT lore. Like Shredder says a lot.
I didn't even immediately go to the TMNT lore itself. I just went to that I just went to that meme. Also, I watched an episode of Elementary the other night where Sherlock adopts a turtle and he keeps joking about making him into soup too. Yeah. So yeah, turtle soup.
Yeah, like, well, just for context, Shredder always says, well, not always, but it is pretty common.
Tonight I dine on turtle soup. Yes, I know.
Yeah. I was giving it to the audience, to be
fair. Anyone who's watching our show probably already knows the meme.
Right.
Although, in fairness, the Shredder I grew up with was too badass to make such quips.
The Utrom Shredder, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, there were like a couple different versions of Shredder in just that one show alone.
Yeah. But yeah, the one that I grew up with was the one that was revealed was an Utrom in a robot suit, which was I'm not gonna lie, a massive WTF moment when I was a kid, and I kind of love it for that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a WTF moment when I was a kid, like any show I watched.
Like in a good way though, not a bad way. Like
yeah, no, I know what you meant.
That's the kind of WTF moment I enjoy. It's not the WTF moments of like how could anyone be that fucking stupid or random.
Right. I don't think I don't think I have that. I don't think I ever saw a show and had that kind of moment.
Then again, as we just established, your credentials as far as TV and pop culture go are weird.
Yeah. I had a weird childhood.
With the freaking Punisher backstory.
Okay. Anyway.
Turtle Soup.
Yeah, let's go. Turtle Soup. All I'll be honest. It's been a very long time since I've seen a Nickelodeon logo for a movie.
I can't remember ever being let down by a Nickelodeon production movie, so I tend to have positive reactions if I ever see the Nickelodeon.
No, it's just like movie. No, I'm not saying that it's bad or anything. I'm just saying like it's been a very long.
They haven't made one in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair,
I guess you could count the finale specials they released on Netflix, like the Invader Zim, Enter the Florbus, Hey Arnold's Jungle Movie, etc. That finally gave us closure on those stuff.
I think the last one I saw, the last one I ever saw was like the sequel to the Rugrats movie.
Which one? The one where they go to Paris, or the one where they get stuck on the tropical island with the wild thornberries?
I assume that's a crossover one. I was thinking of the one, I guess, where they were in Paris, where they had giant necks that fight each other. That was a whole crazy, what the hell kind of movie.
Yeah, 90s and early 2000s. You will be forever memorialized in our memories.
Yeah, I mean, it was still a good movie. Actually, it was very heartfelt. Like if I remember correctly,
the first Rugrats movie was dark.
Yeah,
and it was kind of awesome in the way it was dark, actually.
Okay, a little side tangent. You remember All Grown Up?
Yeah.
I liked that show. I don't think a lot of people did, but I did.
I liked it too. It made sense. It made sense as a spinoff. It worked, I thought.
Yeah. To be fair, like one of the episodes scared the living hell out of me when I was a kid. It was like the horror one, like the ghost kid, where they were at camp.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was like I've never really like even Courage the Cowardly Dog didn't really scare me when it got like super creepy and dark. That episode scared the shit out of me.
There are some pretty dark episodes of Hey Arnold too, while we're talking about movies from sort of or shows from that sort of era.
Yeah, I remember that. Like Pigeon Man, right?
Yeah, Pigeon Man's one, Stoop Kid's one.
Chocolate Boy.
Oh God, that poor kid with his nanny. Oh God, like the secondhand despair coming off that kid. God damn it.
I was referring to the addiction thing, but
like no, his chocolate addiction was always played for laughs. It was the reason behind his chocolate addiction that always got to me, was the like abandonment issues with his nanny. Oh my God.
Right. It's been so long since
you know how much it takes for me to feel empathy for characters, and that just, it made me want to cry as a kid, and it still kind of creeps me out as an adult.
I'll be fully honest. I want to see a goddamn live action Danny Phantom movie from Nickelodeon Studios.
Not now, though. Unfortunately, not in the modern era.
Obviously, not now, but just I actually wrote a pitch like super long ago.
Before we die, it would be nice if there was such a thing. Yes.
Right. or a reboot. Again, not now, obviously, but
yeah, don't for the love of God, don't do it now. But like, I think the conclusion movie where the actually sequel movie, because Hey Arnold also already had a movie, but I think the conclusion movie that we got from Hey Arnold's Jungle Movie, where he actually finds out what happened to his parents and stuff, that's probably the best we're ever gonna get. I do like that. I like that in the modern age, a lot of the shows that got canceled before their time or didn't reach an organic conclusion are at least being given the chance to wrap up. Whether it's Samurai Jack, whether it's Invader Zim, whether it's Rocko's Modern Life, whether it's Hey Arnold, there's enough understanding of these franchises to know, for the love of God, reboot them. Don't change their style. We just want to see things have their organic conclusion.
Right.
Though honestly, I still wish there was more Invader Zim, because even where Enter the Florbus left things, I think there was still plenty of potential for cool shit to happen. But anyway, Turtle Soup.
Shit. Well, I didn't want to mention like a live action Danny Phantom movie would have been cool, because how my mind would go about making it, right? Sam Raimi as an inspiration.
I mean, yeah, basically teenage dark man / like basically do a Dead Man movie, but with Danny Phantom.
There's actually
frankly, I would rather there be like an animated conclusion movie, because I know Phantom Planet finally, the secrets of the problem I have with the show ending when they just figured out the secret, when Maddie and Jack finally figured out the secret, is, and I always hate this with shows where identities like that are kept secret, we never get to see what happens after. Like, now that they know their kid is a superhero and has these powers and shit, how do they address that? How do they go about disciplining him? Are they worried for his safety when he goes heroing after? I mean, they kind of explored that with Jazz as the older sister, kind of, but I want to see what Jack and Maddie, especially now that they know, they can design gadgets for him and basically make him ghost-powered Batman.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, Butch Hartman, like on his YouTube channel, actually did do 10 years later, where he drew the characters like 10 years older, and like kind of explained their stories of what he would want to happen.
I still think he missed a trick with Sam, because and again, maybe I'm biased because this is my direction that I take everything in and so on and so forth.
Right.
But I wish they had kind of done with Sam what they did with Gwen in Ben 10, which is, especially given that we already have the established connection between like supernatural lore and Sam's goth roots, she should become a sorceress, basically.
Yeah.
Like, go from just generic goth to actual full-blown witch, especially given the current revival in like new age like witch stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, we talk.
Because Sam is always the smart one, regardless, and Tucker should basically become a non-mutilated version of Cyborg.
Yeah. Like I mentioned,
or Oracle.
Like I mentioned Dalton before. I actually really like the art style for this. Like, just kind of comic booky and stuff. So
I don't hate it. What I said to Brainstormer is, it looks sort of generically bad to me, but it looks generically bad in the exact same way that the 2012 like computer animated one looked generically bad. So
if we go into a discussion, I do think we're going to.
Yeah, we already ate up an hour with the Agatha stuff, so we should move through the trailers fairly quickly. Turtle Soup.
But I'm just gonna say, like, I see his point about the 2012 thing. Granted, I was at that kind of age where it was kind of like the first show I really, not really.
That was your generation's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, kind of. And it's not. Again, I will agree. Like early seasons, it's kind of rough, but it gets better.
I still think they hit pay dirt back in the 2003 2005.
I don't disagree with you on that. I'm just saying, like, again, different. It's the whole thing. Like, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Turtle soup.
Yep. Turtle soup.
Which is now making me hungry. Damn it.
Abida, stay still. Stay still. Now. Oh! Let's try that again, but with ninja stars. Hey, why did we pick a fruit shaped exactly like my head? Just stop talking. You're ruining my cock.
So I think they're supposed to be early teens instead of like.
Instead of 16.
Yeah. Which it's an interesting take. I will grant you. Granted, I prefer kind of the mid to late teens.
Yeah, my issue is they're written like middle-aged Gen Xers think Gen Zers talk. Like that. I'm getting how do you do fellow kids from a lot of their dialogue.
I could kind of get it because I think you have to look at it from the perspective of the characters within this, which is I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. Okay.
So I don't. This is the thing. It's a little bit like with the Scooby-Doo thing in relation to Velma. Like in almost every iteration of Scooby-Doo, even if it's different, you can still see the characters. And TMNT is kind of the same way. Even if it's different, you can sort of see the characters. Right. I don't yet see Leo, Raph, Mikey, and Donnie yet. Like I'm not recognizing the characters, and that bugs me.
May I?
Yeah.
I get your point, and I don't necessarily disagree. But what I was going to say before, so kind of look at, and I'm being generous here, obviously. From a writing perspective of writing these characters, again, they're early teens, and they basically like imagine like you're like I guess 13 maybe 13, 14.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do all these like really cool flips, tricks, and stuff, and generally just be really cool, right?
Right.
You're gonna goof off. Again, I'm being genuine. I'm being generous here.
I mean, I get that to a point, and that's always been the case to a point. But
hold on. But I do agree. I don't really see difference in personalities here. That is an issue. I agree with you.
Because that is the one most important thing about TMNT, which is both the family dynamic and how it relates to the team dynamic. Donnie is always the smart tech savvy one. Leo is always the like leader / daddy's boy. Raph is always a bit pouty and edgy and grr. And Mikey is always the goof.
Don't get me wrong, you can kind of play around with those, obviously.
And they usually do, normally in the form of Raph and Leo being at each other's throats, because why not?
Right.
And everyone just quietly disapproving of Mikey, but he's adorable and endearing, so gosh darn it, I can't hate him.
I think I mean there's also a thing of like the voices are a bit weird for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, like they're supposed to be like younger, so their voices the voices work for the ages of the characters, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm just so used, obviously, like to the more older versions.
Well, even if they're younger, they're still being trained hardcore from an early age as ninjas, so they should still be fairly disciplined for their age. They should still be extremely muscular for their age, etc.
Yeah, I can get that. I don't think. I mean, this is, if nothing else, this is not a bad scene to kind of endear the characters, mind you.
But the problem I have there is, like I say, the middle-aged Gen Xers writing Zoomer kids rather than how Zoomer kids would actually talk to each other. That's why I wish they had toned down the wackiness a little bit, because it almost seems like, how do we write young characters? Oh, we'll make them deliberately as wacky as possible, and that will count as relating to the young, because reasons.
I was also thinking, I don't like doing this just because, like, again, I know Seth Rogen is working on this, or directed it, I think.
I don't know how he's involved. I just heard he was involved.
Right. I know he voices Bebop as well.
Which I don't mind seeing Bebop and Rocksteady again. Like, they've been absent from the franchise for a while, so it's cool seeing them again.
I mean,
or did they eventually bring them into the 2012 one, and I didn't watch for that long?
Yeah, they did, and also actually, I mean, they're different characters. They have different origins that work within the story of the world that was created for that show. But Sourtal Gaming says hello, by the way.
Hello, Ahsoka.
Yeah. And they were in Teenage Mutant Turtles Out of the Shadows.
I'd have to. It's been a long time. I don't remember them being involved, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. What was it? I was gonna say something. I get your point, and the thing I was gonna say was, like, Seth Rogen is he's a stoner comedian. Let's be completely honest on that. So his brand of comedy is, well, I mean, given the movies he has worked on before, or I wouldn't say zany or wacky, obviously.
He makes fun of things rather than making jokes about things more often than not.
Yeah. Although I don't know, it's difficult to really tell with this, because I don't know if it's really, because I think a lot of people have thought it is making fun of it, but I can definitely see it's somewhat hollow. I can agree to that, but I don't know if it's really making fun of something or not. I'm just,
like I said, I don't know either way. I just know it looks generically bad to me.
I mean, I don't really feel it. I don't really feel good. I don't really feel anything, to be fair. I'm more apathetic towards this.
It feels so disposable, especially given that Brainstormer has informed me that this is now the third TMNT reboot in as many years. It's not in continuity with the most recent computer animated one, and apparently there was also this other one that was in between the 2005 one that I grew up with and the computer animated one.
It wasn't in between. It was after the 2012 one.
Okay, yeah, but in any case, this is like the third or fourth iteration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles we've gotten in
the last decade.
In the last decade, and none of them have had the same, like, not for nothing, but not only was the 2003 through 2005 TMNT really, really freaking good, but it also was really impactful, at least among its audience. Like, almost everyone from my age group that likes action cartoons remembers how awesome Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was. I don't think many of the recent iterations have had anything like as much impact. Even the Michael Bay movies came and went and nobody really
That's
better than I.
That's fair and also probably deserved, to be fair.
I mean, he basically just did what he did with the Transformers over again, right. But it was less bad because he wasn't actually directing. I think he was only producing.
Anyway, Joey.
Yep, Turtle Soup.
Turtle Soup.
Concentration.
You're fine. Chill. He's gonna die.
What, did you hear that? What was that? Well, nothing we can do. You guys want to grab pizza?
Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? What the?
Yeah, I think I'm starting to see your point on this. It does feel kind of generic.
It doesn't add anything to the like it's not a new angle to the franchise, and it rather than adding anything, it feels like it's actually taking things away from the franchise.
Right. Also,
did they make Donnie unnecessarily younger? Because it almost feels like they made him a little kid.
Yeah, his I don't know, the voice is. They're supposed to be like in their early teens, Ahsoka. They're not like kids.
Yeah, like if they're supposed to all be around 13, 14, then I will give you their voices haven't dropped yet, but I'm not going to give you Donnie should have a little kid voice.
I honestly, I don't know. I mean,
and also, I'm not sure about the height differences as well, because we haven't really gotten a good shot at that, but it seemed like he was also smaller than the rest. Which maybe I'm biased because Donnie is my favorite Ninja Turtle, but
Raphael is my favorite.
Not surprised.
Not for the reason you think, though. I've actually explained this before to people.
Mm.
Oh, Donnie has the voice of a freaking 10-year-old, says Ahsoka.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It's like, why? Like, I know he's the nerd, and nerds tend to be smaller and weaker, but like, that doesn't stop him from going through puberty any quicker than the rest.
Right. Raph is supposed to be the second tallest, with Donnie being the tallest. And Ahsoka likes Michelangelo. Kind of a sad tangent. The reason I like Raphael is, well, depending on the iteration, obviously, but most iterations I've seen is that he's kind of the emotional one of the group. Sure, he's
in the sense that he's a bit of an edgy boy and pouts a lot.
I think that you're looking surface level, to be fair. But the way I see him, at least, this might be my own interpretation, mind you, of the character, of how I've seen him. He is emotional, and he does care for his brother. Like, I guess the best way I can describe it is he is the loner who cares kind of thing. He cares deeply for his brothers, even if he gets angry and upset by them sometimes. But when it really counts, he is there for them. And I guess in some ways I can relate to that.
Mm. In terms of the most emotional one, I would argue a little bit for Leo, because his biggest thing is he is the quote unquote firstborn, and therefore he feels the need to carry the weight of all of Daddy's expectations on his shoulders.
Okay, I think you might be somewhat confusing emotional with empathetic.
Well, no, because I again using the one I'm most familiar with as the point of reference. Leo cries about disappointing his father, i.e., Splinter, a lot in that show.
Okay.
And most of the conflict between him and Raph is Raph wants to be a loner, edgy boy and do it his way, and Leo wants the family to work as a unit because that's what Splinter wants. And he feels the need to he takes on the leadership role more as a burden than as a privilege. Like that's always the disconnect between Raph and Leo, at least in most versions that I've seen, is Raph hates being bossed around and wants to do things his way, and he thinks that Leo takes the leadership role as a power trip, when in actuality Leo kind of hates that he has to do it, but he also feels like he's the only one who takes his father's instructions seriously, and therefore he essentially puts himself in the leadership role because otherwise he's worried that his brothers will grow apart from each other, more or less.
So Tao Gaming says technically all 4 of them were the same age. We don't know the birthdays, but they all mutated at the same time. Technically, there is no firstborn, and if you want to go firstborn, that would be Splinter's daughter.
Yeah, I mean, well, in the ones where he was a human first, which isn't always the case, but in terms of the family dynamic, they always register Leo as the firstborn, Raph as the sort of edgy middle child, Donnie as the family nerd, and Mikey as the third child / slacker of the family.
Right, the youngest. And again, I don't technically disagree with you. I think it's just, again, how we kind of interpreted certain things and the various media we've consumed in terms of this topic.
Again, I think it's a matter of what we're defining as emotional. I'm sort of defining emotional as the availability of emotions, whereas I think you're seeing emotional as mostly anger, which is Raph's thing. Because that's mostly the difference. Is when Leo gets emotional, he gets sad. When Raph gets emotional, he gets mad.
Right. I wouldn't say anger, more so temperamental, if anything, to give it a more broader view.
Yeah, but then again, Leo can also be touchy when he gets emotional. That's why I made the distinction between sad and mad, because that tends to be the way they're different is how they process their emotions. When Leo gets upset, he gets depressed and sad. When Raph gets emotional, he goes, "I need to find something to hit."
Right. That's okay. Fair enough. Can't really argue with that. Fair enough. But I think we can all agree that we're not really getting any sense of that.
No. You could even argue that Donnie processes his emotions by burying himself in his mind and what he can understand and what he can control in the sense of intellectually. And Mikey's approach is the classic, I cover my emotions with humor and trying to be the family meme. So
anyway.
But none those are key features to their characters, and you can't, and I'm not getting any of that in here so far. If their mask colors were not different, I would not know which was supposed to be which.
Yeah, it's fair. Anyway, shall we?
Yeah. Moving on.
Turtle soup. The heck are those things? They look like little Shreks to me. We prepared our whole life for this. Oh my God! Oh my! I'm gonna be sick.
Yo, what happened? Is Donnie bleeding? It was an accident.
Mikey, watch out!
Yeah,
if they make Donnie the disposable child throughout this movie, I'm gonna be annoyed. Donnie is my favorite turtle. Because it really feels like the writers just didn't know what to do with Donnie, so they made him the child so that the other characters would have to protect him.
Right, okay, so I don't know. I mean, Donnie, Mikey, when they get emotional, they more or less or something in between. Mikey is the one who survives the killing of the three turtles. The last Ronin, Mikey kind of becomes a combination of all four turtles. It's a comic that came out not too long ago.
Well, yeah, it obviously it varies depending on the continuity. I do like the versions that essentially hint to the fact that once Mikey gets out of his slacker phase of his teenage years, he actually does become probably the categorically wisest of his brothers.
Yeah, there are actually some depictions I've seen where he's actually become somewhat of a spirit, like a monk, kind of.
Yeah.
Or like a.
The difference is when he was a teenager, he was a slacker hippie, and being around all that Zen shit from an early age basically turned him into a slacker hippie. When he becomes older and wiser, he actually starts taking the slacker hippie shit seriously and not just as an excuse to goof off.
Okay. Okay, so Sokotal Gaming's. Okay, so they're preteen then? Well, because apparently Donnie's voiced by a kid.
Yeah, I don't know what you're trying to do, but making Donnie basically the human or the turtle humanoid MacGuffin that they have to protect and rescue is insulting to my favorite Ninja Turtle.
Right.
At least they didn't make him like a TikTok influencer or something because technology. I was worried they were gonna turn he's good with technology into he's obsessed with internet memes and shit.
Okay. All right. So that's the. So I'm assuming when you're referring to them, Ahsoka, you're referring to the voice actors who are like 12 to 13, 11 to 13.
Mm. So, in other words, you have a few very simple jobs in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
So they're not.
And you've already failed at one of them, namely the teenage part.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can cast young actors, sure, to voice.
But that doesn't mean the characters have to be made young to compensate.
Yeah, it's
because now they're the PMNT, the preteen mutant ninja turtles.
Shut the fuck up. I really don't want to picture that. Anyway, what was I? Oh yeah, damn it. What I was going to say was this.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, to bring up an example of a young voice actor who voices a character that is similar age, I believe. The voice actor for Damian Wayne of the New 52 animated movies. I mean, I hate the character. The voice actor actually did a really great job.
Yeah, Damian Wayne is annoying, but they portrayed him well. They just happened to be portraying a very annoying character.
See, the weird thing is, I don't technically mind Damian Wayne, like the concept of him. Sorry, this is a little tangent here, but
he doesn't have to suck, but he usually sucks.
The main issue is he. Well, okay, I could get it from the upbringing that was rewritten for his story, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the absolute arrogance.
Mm.
Again, it makes sense, obviously, but he never really gets fucking humbled. And if he does, it gets retroactively, like, it gets retconned. It gets retconned back to him being a smarmy little fuckwit.
Because he's Batman's son, and he was raised by edgy ninjas and shit. So of course he is gonna be this pouting, smartest person in the room, character.
So, and I've seen people do these concepts well, like the whole thing of like like he never feels like he fits in with people, like his own age, because he was raised by.
Well, yeah, one thing I wish they would explore more with him is he never actually got to be a child. Like
Yeah.
he never had a childhood, and that's why he is this little obnoxious mini adult.
Right. Yeah. The whole Super Sons thing and like aging of John was so fucking dumb. Because those two actually, like, John kind of helped Damian grow a lot, I think.
Well, if not grow, at least lighten the fuck up or learn how to lighten the fuck up.
I'll be fully fucking honest. I have not been able to get my hands on Super Sons. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I have not been able to get my hands on it.
Yeah, I haven't had desire to, just because it's far from my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's fair. But then, I don't know. It bugs me because like there was a lot of potential in that character. But the thing is, like, blood son. You know, that was always a thing that he mentioned a lot too. Like he's the blood son of Batman. Like it is supposed to be his destiny.
The biological son of Batman rather than the adoptive children.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing.
And I would say he could be the black sheep of the family, and that would be an interesting take on that, except the Bat family already has its black sheep, and that was Jason Todd.
Yeah. I mean, you could explore a different angle of black sheep, you know.
You could also have Jason and Damian bond over kind of being the outsider of the family. That would be cool because there is a generation gap between them, and you might actually be able to use that, having Damian kind of be shunned by the rest of the Bat family for being an edgy little shit, and then Jason takes him under his wing and tells him, "No, you're actually right to be an edgy little shit. They are overly naive."
Anyway, we got super off topic there.
Yeah. Turtle soup.
So you were baby turtles who made contact with mystery goo.
Well, we prefer the term ooze, but yeah, it's like more like it rolls off the tongue better. Yeah.
Ooze.
It's nice, right? It's ooze.
Okay, I hate the lamb shading of the ooze. Don't, like, yes, we all know it's goo. Yes, we all know it's chemicals, whatever. But like that is such a we're in 2023, so we have to be meta thing, and I'm sick of jokes that poke fun at the franchise in being in the franchise. Like right. That's what parody is supposed to be for.
Right. I mean, I don't have a problem with meta. I think the issue is that it's just never done well lately, you know?
Yeah, like I don't have a problem with meta in principle. I'm just saying, if you want to make jokes at the expense of a franchise, do it somewhere other than the franchise. That's what parody movies and shows and stuff are for.
Also, apparently this is April.
That's like 90% of the problem with most of these modern social justice shows. If they just had the self-awareness to make parody versions of the characters and do it that way, they would be very successful as parody artists.
Right.
But because they feel the need to do the job of a parody artist in the actual franchise to bring down the franchise a peg, they go from what would have been a really good opportunity for a parody concept to you're shitting all over this franchise in universe.
Okay, so Kid Cosmic. So we're talking about bringing up Kid Cosmic, which is a show made by Craig McCracken on Netflix.
Mm.
And for those who don't know who Craig McCracken is the guy who did Dexter's Laboratory and Powerpuff Girls.
I still haven't watched Kid Cosmic.
I have seen the first season. I haven't been able to watch like the other stuff. It has comic book stuff and has comics from Gold, Silver, and Bronze Age. It does all the but yeah, so I also wanted to bring this up because I just remember this whole discourse online. the lady on the right, and you can see this, right, Dalton?
Mm-hmm.
No, not right, left. On the left, sorry.
Okay.
It's supposed to be April.
Talking about the race swapping thing?
I mean, I don't really mind. I think that the issue with me is more so the design.
Yeah, I don't care one way or the other about the race bullshit. I just think yet again this is a perfect example of why didn't you just make an off-brand version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and do a parody version
I don't.
if you wanted to.
I don't like, my issue is more so the design. It doesn't feel like April O'Neil. You know.
And not for nothing, but this is yet another case of ostensibly ginger character is now black because reasons.
That's again like you said. I don't mind.
That's a coincidence, but it's one of those coincidences that keeps fucking happening.
I mean, Rise did the same thing, so.
And that's the other thing. It's like, can we not just like? Is Hollywood trying to drive red-haired people to extinction or something by denying the representation?
Right. Again, it's just the design that's kind of my issue. It's like it's super generic hipster, to be fully honest.
Yeah, it doesn't register as an individual character. It's just here is the generic 2023 black character.
Yeah.
She was once called April O'Neil, but will not keep anything from her actual character.
I mean, gender is dying off. Within like 2 generations, it will be gone in terms of the genes, says Ahsoka.
That's sad. Redheads are cool. Karen Gillan should breed so that at the very least the gingers will be kept alive for a while. Do your bit for the species. Do your bit for the species. Karen.
You ever hear, like, sometimes do you ever hear the words that come out of your mouth?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to see if you were aware.
I know it makes me sound like a eugenicist on crack.
No.
But
in America, in Ireland, is kind of still a thing. In the last like 4 generations, then.
But still, I'm like, please, can we get more redheads? It used to be that redheads, blondes, and brunettes existed in fairly equal numbers, and now like the like redhead genes are just dwindling entirely.
Right. But yeah, back to this. Like again, like it's not even so much like the skin, the color, the race of the character is the issue with me. It's just like the design.
She's not recognizable as the character anymore.
No, not at all. Again, just generic hipster number 57321.
Yeah, the same rough character template as the new Velma, the same rough character template as the new Shaggy, yada yada yada.
I mean, blondes have been seen as the best of them, as ginger has been associated with Scottish and Irish. Okay, yeah, this quite literally a drunken stereotype. I mean, I have part Irish in me, and I drink a lot. Not alcohol, mind you. I've kind of sworn that off, but I drink a lot of soda.
And I'm Scottish apparently, and or like Norman French.
French, huh?
Yeah, part Scottish, part English, part French.
That actually explains a lot about you.
Allons va-t-on faire la patrie?
Yeah, that explains a lot, actually. No follow-up. No, not gonna ask me why that makes sense.
No, I'm just waiting for you to explain why.
Pretentious, artistic bastard. Am I wrong?
I mean, I throw running skunks in your general direction, and your mother said it.
Okay, but who's people? Well, Whose ancestors were the Braveheart?
Huh?
No, anyway. Yeah, this. Like when this was first announced, I was kind of excited, but this is not a ringing endorsement at all.
I just don't. Like I say, it looks bad and it looks generic. Like it doesn't even look bad in an interesting new way. It looks bad in the way I've thought the last 3 iterations or so have looked bad, except for maybe the Michael Bay one that was uniquely Michael Bay type of bad.
Okay,
unique to him.
In theaters in August.
And this is the first trailer they're releasing. That's weird.
It's a teaser trailer.
Yeah, normally the first trailer gets released like the year before, and then we get the second trailer around now. But oh well. Because I mean, March, April, May, June, July, August. It's only 5 months, unless they're not going to do multiple trailers, which doesn't bode well for advertising. Because if they only do one trailer, then that means they only have one trailer worth of good content. Which means this could be a lot worse than it looks. To be fair, that is something I want to stress. Is it doesn't look atrociously bad. It doesn't look Velma bad. It doesn't look New Warriors bad. It doesn't look Kevin Smith's He-Man bad. It just looks generically interchangeably bad in the same way a bunch of things have been recently.
It looks like a 3D Velma. Ahsoka.
Presumably designed for April, because it doesn't look as bad as Velma. That I'm not going to insult it by saying it looks as bad as Velma, but
there was actually someone did one of those parody animations of Velma where they introduced Scooby, who apparently was a Lovecraftian entity that was.
And he kept rebooting the universe to try and get back to the point where they could just go on solving mysteries and stuff.
Yeah.
And every time Velma gets smart enough to ask why he can talk, he has to reboot it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's funny as hell.
Also, it's actually a really interesting concept when you really think about it too.
Although I take one issue with it because that animation loosely implies that every successive iteration is worse. And I'm sorry, but no. Most versions of Scooby-Doo are good in their own way and at least added something to the franchise. It really, really wasn't until Velma that a genuinely awful version of Scooby-Doo had existed. And moreover, there are some iterations of Scooby-Doo, like the 90s movies that began with Zombie Island and ended with Cyberchase, that actually improved on the original Where Are You? In my honest opinion.
So Italian, I mean, technically, Scooby is an alien by the Mystery Inc. stuff lore and the old Scooby-Doo Where Are You lore.
What? Alien. That's not where I would have gone with that.
Oh.
What?
I feel like I should look up more stuff.
Although Ahsoka, I'm going to ask you for a citation, mostly because I want to fall down this particular rabbit hole.
Although he has a family that dates back centuries on Earth with.
Yeah, I don't. How does that work? Like, I could understand Mystery Inc., but Where Are You? No, that doesn't make sense for Where Are You's lore.
Right. Anyway, he is a descendant of aliens. Okay, that might make more sense.
I'm going to need citations, please.
Basically, ancient. Okay. Yeah, you would need to provide that stuff.
Context. I demand context.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on because we got like 2 more trailers. This is one Don wants to cover a lot of. Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves official international trailer.
the more I see from this movie, the more I hate it. Honestly,
I'm on the fence about it, to be completely fair. I don't particularly.
It's yet another case of the thing I was just talking about earlier. If you wanted to do a parody of D&D, call it something else. Like, don't make a parody mocking something in the universe of the thing you're mocking. That's what parody is for, or at least it's one of the things parody is for.
Right, okay, so I'm gonna read these last comments, then we'll move on to the trailer. You know that early 2000s Scooby Doo wasn't that? No, that's What's New Scooby Doo.
Yeah, that's What's New Scooby Doo, and I don't think he was descended from aliens in that canon.
When they had the Hex Girls and that stuff, I mean, they always had that. Well, like
yeah, the Hex Girls first got introduced. Hex Girls first got introduced in Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost, and made several appearances in the movies that featured the What's New Scooby Doo continuity. Yeah, particularly in Scooby Doo Music of the Vampire, which was set in the Australian outback and featured the monster of the Yowie Yahoo, which is basically a tribal vampire spirit known to the Aboriginal Australians.
I'm gonna be honest. In terms of like cartoon childhood crushes, Hex Girls were definitely up there.
I mean, I never crushed on the Hex Girls. I did once take herbal tips from Thorn though, and try her vocal cord remedy there.
That work?
It works, yeah.
All right, cool.
Though I ended up adding cloves and eucalyptus to it as well eventually. Like the second or third time I tried it.
If nothing else, they were cool. And kind of, I guess in some way, kind of made me lean towards like rock and stuff like that.
I mean, the whole Wiccans being a thing that existed for thousands of years thing is kind of silly because Gerald Gardner created Wicca as a official thing in like the 20th century. But I get what they're going for. What they should have said is that she was a descendant from old wise women, and that's kind of what they were going for because the Anglo-Saxon word Wisa, from which Wicca gets its name, is also a word used for like the craft of the wise. So I get what they were going for. They conflated Wiccans and medieval wise women for the sake of the argument, but it's still as someone who knows the history of things, it makes me giggle now every time I watch that.
Anyway.
Yeah, but no. Dragon fruit.
Oh yeah, we did. Okay. Are you sure there's no like particular thing in D&D, like a type
like D&D specific food that would, or fruit that no.
Well, what about potion?
Not that I can think of.
All
no.
Right. Okay, I was just asking.
Yeah, so dragon fruit.
Dragon fruit.
What is that?
It's a dead end!
I feel nothing as yet, so we'll just move on. Dragon fruit.
Okay, give me a second. I want to. No, it's auto-generated. Why would IGN have auto-generated captions? That makes no fucking sense.
Because IGN is stupid.
Right. Anyway.
Dragon fruit.
Yep.
Up there! Portal is out of here!
We're facing the greatest evil the world has ever known.
She's executing our people.
This is unlike anything we've ever seen.
Okay, I appreciate one of them.
Trying to kill us this.
I appreciate one of them actually being confirmed as a magic user. Now the only question is which kind of magic user are they? Because there's like 50 of them.
Well, she was turning into an owlbear. Is there? That would imply.
I mean, there's plenty of classes that get polymorph, so that might lean towards druid, but it might just be a wizard who classed weird, or it might be a warlock, or it might be a couple other things. So yeah, I don't think that the specific use of that spell implies anything. Plus, to the best of my knowledge, druids don't get portals, so
no, that wasn't that wasn't the same character. It's a different one.
Okay, but I was specifically talking about when the guy made the portal was the confirmation that there are magic users in this, which is good because I was really worried it was literally just going to be a party of thieves with no magic, which would be dumb. But yeah, now the question is which types of magic users do we have? Are they both wizards? Is there some kind of inherent blood magic like sorcery going on, or do we have some pack stuff going on and these are warlocks? Or some combination of all of the above? Or druids. Druids is possible, I suppose, too. I'm just not seeing a lot of nature-focused elements of their magic, so probably not druid. Assuming that the people behind this movie even did the necessary homework to figure out which is which, but, whatever.
Hang on.
Mm-hmm. Dragon fruit.
Pretty much everything.
Magic is on a whole other level.
We're outmatched. How are we gonna defeat them?
I mean, there's a bard. I saw a barbarian. Obviously, a wizard of some kind, or mage. I'm not sure.
Okay, if the bard is a war bard, that could explain why he can do other classes magic. So
doing magic, though, I didn't see him do magic. So
okay, well, in D&D, bard is a caster class, so if there's a bard, then that's at least one magic user.
Okay, mage, wizard, whatever, with the portals, and someone who can. Yeah,
and the biggest question there is he creating portals from skill, or is he creating portals because of some blood inherent that he has? Because that would imply sorcerer.
He's holding an object.
Okay, so hopefully we can escape this without ever doing a inherent magic user, and most of the magic users will be skill based. But
there was the girl that turned into the owlbear.
So, druid maybe.
She had horns. They don't see them clearly in the shots shown. So.
Okay, so she might be a tiefling. That's. Yeah.
Well, no, she has regular skin. If I remember correctly, most tieflings have like a different colored skin, abnormal to regular humans. She had like pure. She had like normal human skin.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're putting a lot more thought into this than the writers did, which makes me sad.
Yeah, Chris Pine looks like he's playing the bard because I saw him with the lute on his back, and the clothing obviously kind of gave it away. To be fair. Although it's kind of generic bard clothing. When I think of bard relating to D&D stuff, it actually there's supposed to be more like kind of grander. Like I think Dandelion from like the Witcher games. I feel like you don't understand that reference.
I don't really have a pop culture reference point for bard. I just think of the actual history of the relationship between druids and bards, because there was a lot of bleed over after the Romans converted to Christianity between the roles of a druid and the roles of a bard. Much of the magic of the druids got preserved by wandering bards and troubadours and shit.
And there does seem to be like a paladin of some sort, like guy in armor who was the straight man.
Guy in armor doesn't necessarily equate to paladin. It could just be a brawler or a fighter. There are a lot of heavy armor classes.
There's a brawler here, like he's carrying like an axe and stuff.
So barbarian, most likely.
Yeah, barbarian. Sorry. But I mean, the guy carries a sword.
Could also be a monk, depending. Again, I feel like I'm putting more effort into this than the writers did, and that makes me sad.
Anyway, shall we?
Dragon fruit.
Know what to do. I can ask corpses 5 questions and then they go back to being dead.
Perlumon Zergatis.
Maybe I'm not saying it right.
Yuck.
Wonderful. Were you killed in battle?
Yes.
Great. 4 more questions, right?
Yes.
No. That wasn't for you. Did that?
Okay, so
hate. Go on. Sorry. I just wanted to express my loathing for this scene.
So I don't have a problem with Critical Role, because I think it's actually pretty good, and it actually inspired the show Legend of Vox Machina, which is actually pretty good from what I've seen of it. But this does feel like Critical Role vibes, kind of, but not done well, I think.
It feels like Critical Role done by people who've never actually played D&D before.
Yeah, because at least with the cast, who are also astounding voice actors, by the way.
Yeah.
They actually have been playing D&D for a very long time. Like, they are nerds.
Yeah. This feels like someone who's never played D&D but has heard of it. They're like strawmanned impressions of what a D&D game must be like.
Right. Yeah, the weirdest thing is, like, it's right. When I first watched these trailers, I get some excitement, maybe because I'm trying to judge it on its own merits, but like really thinking about it, this, like, even by itself, it doesn't seem. It seems very generic blockbuster, you know.
It feels like a bad parody that for some reason is in the original franchise, which is like 70% of the problem with a lot of these bad social justice-y or bad deconstructionist reboots is they feel like parodies, but they're set in the original universe. They just had the foresight to make parodies; it wouldn't be as insulting.
Anyway.
Yeah, dragon fruit.
That count as a question?
Yes.
Damn it. Only answer when I talk to you. Okay?
Yes.
Why did you say okay at the end of that?
I didn't.
Fantastic. Where's the shovel?
I won't lie, that scene with the corpse kind of gave me a chuckle.
it's just I want to see at least some level of sincerity here, and I'm not like it seems like again, it seems like a bad parody because they only are going around, at least in the trailer, they're only going around doing stupid shit. Where is the actual like semi-serious epic fantasy vibes, like something from Warcraft a couple of years ago? Like where is the actual focus on the lore? You could do a lot with explaining mechanics in this medium, but they don't do that either. It's literally just, hey guys, let's get drunk and write a script about D&D and make fun of it. Like I knew as soon as he was reading out that spell and what it did that this was going to happen, and I held out hope that they were actually going to turn this into at least turn it into an action scene where like the dead guy is angry about being revived and tries to kill y'all. But like nope, they went for the lowest common denominator joke, and now I'm pissed.
The thing with a parody, okay, so start talking. I mean, the cast is giving their all, but the writers are just writing a parody movie. The thing with a parody movie is sometimes they can be genuine and sincere.
Yeah, a good parody can actually manage to establish like essentially its own lore and its own franchise, like Galaxy Quest or Spaceballs or the Orville. But in general, what I mean is if you want to do a bad spoof of a franchise specifically to mock it, specifically to go, oh look how stupid this franchise is, make a parody movie like a Freeburg and Seltzer style movie, or like superhero movie, or like the Scary Movie movies.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a bad parody. I was also I was to that list. Knights of Badassdom. Has anyone seen that movie?
Yeah, in terms of the good ones, I assume, not the shit ones.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, you can even do a parody of just like medieval fantasy in general and make it sincere. You know, the quintessential one, of course, being Princess Motherfucking Bride.
Or I was gonna bring I don't know if anyone's seen this movie. Martin Lawrence's The Black Knight.
Not off the top of my head, no. But Knight's Tale is another one, the one that starred a pre-Joker Heath Ledger.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the Black Knight with Martin Lawrence. It's it's about this guy, like this modern, I say like 90s guy from, I believe, I think it's Philadelphia or someplace, but modern America, 90s modern America.
Mm-hmm. Modern at the time America, which is the 90s.
Yeah. Okay. And he gets sucked in through like a lake of some kind and transported to medieval times.
Yeah, the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court style thing, the basic isekai.
Yeah, and yeah, he becomes like a knight, unconventional knight, mind you, but a knight nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, a lot of the hatred that gets spoiled in the direction of these things would be a lot less hateful if they just correctly labeled it and correctly marketed it as a parody of the franchise, not the franchise.
Right. Okay.
Like you don't have to go full so self-serious that it's like a prestige drama, which I think was the problem that the previous Dungeons and Dragons set of movies fell into, was they played it all so stiff that it actually was not enjoyable to watch.
Right.
But between those two extremes, you've got, your Lord of the Rings is, your Warcraft, etc. And you could do that with D&D stuff.
I was also going to bring up again, Legend of Vox Machina.
Can't vouch for that one. Haven't seen it yet.
I've seen a bit of it. It's not bad. It's capable of being incredibly serious and dark. Like they have a character named what was it?
And that's on Amazon or on Netflix?
Amazon.
Okay.
It was actually kickstarted, and they basically got their goal, which was like I think it was like a couple $100,000 in like a night, in like one day, because fans were passionate and wanted to see this made.
Sweet.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I mean, it had to. It couldn't really because it doesn't have like real access to like the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, so it kind of had to rework some stuff.
Yeah.
To like become like kind of its own. I mean, it was based on the Dungeon Master of Critical Matt Mercer's homebrew campaign, so, like his own world that he's created.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has been since he was a kid, he has been doing Dungeons and Dragons. So
yeah,
he's pretty competent.
Anyway, let's finish this thing. Dragon fruit.
Only 8 seconds left, so. I also want to point out, is it me or does it? Maybe it could be what it's going for, but does it feel like like the effects are a bit unfinished in some cases?
Yeah, I think they're essentially doing a Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff is what they're trying to do. With
also like the coloring, like I honestly, it feels a bit. Yeah, give me 1 second, Soka. Yeah, the color grading was also like super bland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even when there were spots of like genuine color, it felt flat.
Yeah. It's trying to do a Guardians vibe without any of the actual sincerity of a Guardians movie. Which, who knows, maybe Guardians 3 will do the same thing, so that's sad, but I hope not. Anyway, on to the actual good trailer.
Right. Sorry, I had to set it up. Also, Ahsoka. Sorry, I wasn't. We were talking and stuff. So all right. Would any of you like to see a movie where its setting is like an Oscars and it's like a game show mixed with a Saw/killer movie, where the internet is the ones who vote for who dies and who lives, and whoever can act the best and whoever gets the most votes wins, but the other 3 people die, with it being like a mockumentary about an old unsolved case from like the mid to late 2010s, where the narrator we have been following, who we think is some famous person, is actually the killer, and the person we thought was the narrator has been the killer's first victim.
No. I feel like I've seen a trailer or something to that effect, but I've never seen that movie.
It sounds familiar. I think she was more like pitching.
I don't think she was pitching. Because that sounds familiar enough where I think it's pretty much already existed, but like I don't know where I've seen it from. Do you know what the title of that was, Ahsoka?
It's a movie idea I had.
Oh, well then, sorry.
If I mean, it sounds interesting to be fully honest.
I think you might have overextended a little bit on that last thing of like the twist being that we're actually like the narrator being the murderer. I have no problem, but the we should still be following him. I think, in my opinion, I don't think we should be following his first victim. Anyway, on to the good trailer.
Yeah, this will be the last thing we cover for tonight. So, yeah, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, official trailer number 2.
And it's sad that this movie is probably going to bomb, even though it really looks good, because James Gunn went and kneecapped it by announcing that they are excising it from continuity.
I mean, this shot alone looks fucking cool. I mean, it looks kind of like a video game cinematic, but I think that's kind of what they were going for, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, like,
it still looks good.
You can get away with bad CG if you stylize it enough, and I think they're stylizing it well here.
It's good though, like, and I'm not saying, like, honestly, let's be honest, a lot of video game cutscenes look a lot better than most movie special effects these days.
Yeah, therein lies the problem. Cough, cough, James Cameron, you arrogant cunt. Right. Cough.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, shall we
Shazam?
Shazam Nana.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, think of four other things for it to signify.
Chrononaut, like when we first did the first trailer, Chrononaut actually did a list, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was because that was a while ago. So
okay, then we're just sticking with Shazam then.
Fuck you. No, I'm saying Shazam now. You can't fucking stop me.
I mean, I can leave.
All right, give me a goddamn second. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna look this shit up. Actually, just because I do have a bad memory. What does Shazam stand for again?
Wisdom of Solomon, Strength of Hercules, Courage of Achilles, Power of Zeus, Stamina of Atlas, and Speed of Mercury.
Okay, give me a second. Achilles, Zeus. What was the second A again?
The second A was the Stamina of Atlas.
Okay, and Mercury, right? For the M.
Yeah, the speed of Mercury.
Okay, and then okay, so that's 2 N's and 2 A's. Okay.
I thought of a couple, but I'm not helping because I don't want this.
Sorry, but I want to say this and I want to have fucking credibility here. So you know what?
I give you props for wanting to do it long form. I hate that this is the thing you choose to do long form, but okay, fine.
I'll back down from a challenge, motherfucker. You know that.
This is the thing he fights me on, folks. This is the thing. This is the hill he chooses to die on. And while I respect that he actually had the integrity to do it, I still feel like this is an odd hill to plant his flag in. And keep in mind, you also have to give a quality of one of these figures to the hypothetical character.
Right.
And you probably shouldn't double up.
I know. I'm not stupid, dude. I know what I'm doing. Okay. All right, fuck it. Shazam it is, jackass.
Victory, sweet victory.
To be fair, all the gods I was looking up are technically evil, so it wouldn't have made sense.
Uh-huh.
I was looking mostly.
In any case, Shazam.
I was looking at mostly Sumerian gods. Okay, fuck you.
Huh. That's like 4 of them are Greek and 1 of them is biblical.
I'm a fucking idiot.
And 1 of them is a demigod. So like I don't know why you chose to go a completely different pantheon all of a sudden, but I mean I appreciate the tenacity and obscurity and stuff, but I'm just like, wait. Why?
Shut the fuck up.
Never.
Anyway, yeah. Shall we?
Yeah, Shazam.
Oh no.
We are at war. We will annihilate everything. Champions of this realm can do nothing to stop us.
I will say this does start off a little bit better than the first one we watched.
Yeah, the second trailers usually improve.
Yeah, that's true.
Because stuff isn't finished rendering yet. They can't use it in the thing.
Well, no, I was just talking about the tone, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the first one wasn't bad, but I wouldn't say it felt too lighthearted, but I don't know how to really explain it, to be fair.
I mean, again, the saddest part of this is this movie is going to bomb despite probably being the best thing DC is going to make this year.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we?
Granted, there's a possibility that Flash will also bomb, and we know from the Amber Heard situation that Aquaman 2 is probably going to bomb, so...
It fucking sucks.
Yeah, DC once again found a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of what could have been a victory.
Yeah. Anyway.
Shazam?
Yep.
You are very menacing. I just want you to know that.
A lot has changed in the last few years.
The wizard gave me superpowers.
Well, then everybody got superpowers.
I will say the costume, I kind of prefer the other costumes.
I don't really have a preference either way, although I think the musculature looks more convincing in these.
No, I do. I think the issue I have is kind of taking away like the bright, shining bolts.
Uh-huh.
they made it more. I don't want to say Snyderized it, but they kind of did.
They subdued it a little bit.
Yeah, I think
they leaned a little bit away from the cartoony nature of it.
Yeah.
Which again, I guess the kids have gotten older, so maybe they're like, if we go from the thing, which I think is kind of stupid, but if we go from the thing that like it's their like residual self-image that colors it, then sure.
Right. I think if anything, you could have like put an outline within the bolt that's still lit up. Like if you're not doing the full light on the chest lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Like a compromise of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't mind these. Maybe I think also the issue I kind of have is a little bit of desaturated colors.
And that might just be the trailer. It might not be that way in the movie.
That's okay, fair. If those are really the only issues I have,
because like the first trailer was a lot more colorful than this, so
it could also be like the setting as well, like
the individual scene is darker for some reason. Yeah,
trying to also set the tone as well, a little bit saturated and stuff. A little more.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if anything, if that's just if that is my only real like nitpick.
Yeah, these are the nitpicks we're coming out with because there's nothing else to complain about because this genuinely looks awesome.
Yeah, like the story seems fine. Like honestly, it seems really interesting. I hope we delve into the Daughters of Atlas.
I honestly wish this would make like $700 million, but I know based on projections that it's projected to make like $30 million in its opening weekend, which means it's probably going to be even less than. Probably going to be even less than the first one, which is just sad.
It's going to be fucking bullshit, I tell you. But I also kind of wish maybe they're saving him, but Mr. Mind, because they set him up in the last movie.
Yeah, from what I hear of the director, he's going to be he and Savannah are going to come, or we're going to come back in the third one, which is unlikely to happen now. Thank you, James, for killing your own franchise with friendly fire.
Right.
I can't believe that Peter Safran let him do that, though, because Peter Safran is the producer on these.
I don't get it. Anyway, shall we?
Shazam!
Banana.
From the bottom, now we're here. All right, here's the situation. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. The Daughters of Atlas are coming to hunt us.
Children stole the power of the gods. You ripped it from our father's core.
Okay, I feel like maybe I should be writing all this down.
In fairness,
your world will not survive.
Sorry,
in fairness, dear, it was given to him. The people you really should be taking this up with is the Council of Wizards. If any ripping from your parents' cores happened, it was from them. And
but also, I like the motivation they gave because that really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if the kids are empowered with the stamina of Atlas, then that energy comes from the deity in question. I had always assumed it was invoked into them, i.e., it was essentially power on loan from them. And maybe that'll be the twist that Atlas shows up and goes, "Yes, I know they were using my stamina. I gave it to them willingly." Like maybe that'll be the twist. But the idea that the Daughters of Atlas would be annoyed at that, both for what directly is their father's and also what presumably is some of their other family members, and one random mortal for some reason, and one random demigod for some reason. Although I don't think they're going to be as mad about the courage of Achilles or the wisdom of Solomon. I think they're mostly going to be mad of, hey, those are our family's powers, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Which again makes sense. Although I'm going to laugh if Atlas shows up at the end and goes, "Yeah, no, of course they're borrowing my powers. I gave it to them."
Right.
Anyway. Shazam.
You want these powers? Come get them! Hey, Khaleesi!
Started from the bottom, now we're here. All right. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here.
We have one job to do: save the world.
I had nothing to say. Like, this seems genuinely fun.
Yeah, this is just badass. I'm enjoying this. I love that the focus is actually on the mythology and the magic and like this is what I want from this franchise. Please, more of these.
Right, and I think also, well, the thing I guess a bit of me is worried about. I don't think they're going to, obviously, with how they portrayed the Daughters of Atlas and stuff, and some scenes we saw in like earlier ones. I don't think they're going to lose the heart, obviously. Because that can always be an issue.
The emotional core is still there. We've seen it in scenes in the previous trailer where Billy was talking to the wizard and so on. The daughters are played by Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, and they're not gonna pass up any opportunity to bring in the emotion to these characters. So,
great actresses.
Yeah, I just realized something very sadly ironic.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is individually more about gods and monsters than the entire Gods and Monsters phase that James Gunn announced.
Yep.
Why? Why, DC? Why you do me like this? You are tearing me apart, DC.
Sorry, I was letting out a sigh / yawning.
Anyway, enough grieving for the loss of DC's intelligence. Shazam.
Bye now.
I don't know how we fight powers like this.
I can't do this. Take my powers back. You gave them to me, so you can take them back, right?
I spent millennia searching for a worthy champion.
Okay, so yeah, no, my worries like a minute ago were completely unfounded.
Yep, this movie's awesome. It's going to bomb anyway, just like Black Adam did. But this movie is awesome. Oh, god damn it, DC! It's been 10 years, and you still haven't been able to capitalize on being the first and arguably greatest comic book franchise. And yes, I said that. I love both DC and Marvel, so this isn't a fuck Marvel thing. I like them both, but DC is the first and the best and the gold standard. Literally, I mean, 90% of the golden age was DC's doing.
Right.
And then of course Marvel came in kicking ass in the Silver Age, but people always forget that DC basically single-handedly sustained the golden age.
Right, and I kind of agree with Dom. Like, I got nothing against Marvel. I grew up with a lot of Marvel stuff, like cartoons and things like that. Granted, I've kind of started to love a lot more. Well, I kind of gravitated towards DC more just because of how more epic it kind of was, to be fair.
Yeah. The gods trying to be men as opposed to the men trying to be gods of Marvel.
Yeah, and well, I'm not going to talk too much about it now because I don't want to go on like a full rant or anything because we're already pushing time-wise. But
yep.
When people say like gods among men, when it refers to DC, they often say it as a criticism or a because I don't think they understand that, you know.
Surface level metaphor.
Yeah. And again, like there is this YouTuber who talked about it at length and really explained how it's, you know, like how you say, you know, God's trying to be men, like the inherent worth of humanity.
Yeah. Also, the fact that DC tends to lean a lot more heavily into mythology itself.
Yeah.
As in addition to the pseudo-intellectual metaphorical gods in the DC universe, there's a shit ton of actual ones.
Yeah.
And they're very often the focus, whereas in Marvel there are a couple legit gods, but they're almost never focused on.
This seems like a good movie.
I want it to be successful, but I know the projections for it, and I know that James Gunn basically nerfed it himself with Friendly Fire. Like that would have been another smart move. In addition to wait to announce your plans because you don't have your full phase slate done, but also wait to announce your plans until the movies that you had nothing to do with have come out, so that people still have a reason to potentially go see them.
Right.
Because now nobody has a reason to go watch this movie. Nobody has a reason to watch. People have plenty of reasons not to watch The Flash and not to watch Aquaman. So like,
I mean, even before the whole announcement thing.
Yeah, Warner Brothers was already in debt, and I don't think announcing the next phase of DC before the previous 3 movies had been released was a very smart business decision, and I think it's going to result in them losing even more money,
Right.
and probably the reboot failing because people need to go see Flashpoint for that reboot to succeed because that's the in-universe reboot button.
Right. Anyway,
yeah. Anyway, Shazam.
Banana, and I'm saying banana, damn it, because at least I get a version of Shazam Nana.
Yeah. I mean, it does occur to me. I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to regret it almost instantly. But I could say Shazam, and you could say Nana.
That didn't work.
That would probably. Okay, well, I tried. I gave my olive branch, which would have made me squirm, but whatever. Anyway, Shazam.
It feels a bit awkward if it's just 2 people saying it. So. No.
You know exactly what must be done.
Billy, what are you doing?
I have to do this.
I wonder if they'll I wonder if they'll use their powers to resurrect the old gods, and that will be the compromise. And then they can still keep the powers, but the gods are still alive.
Yeah.
Which would be an amazing thing to follow up on in the 3rd movie that we're never getting.
Yeah, because if they're also bring back Sivana and Mr. Mind. I mean, Mr. Mind literally did say that he named the gods. Although I don't know if that's hyperbole from him.
Yeah. Also the you think that the wizards are the only source of magic, which again would be amazing to follow up on what happened with Dr. Fate now that the helm is in flux. I could see Savannah trying to put on the helmet and Naboo completely scrambling his brains.
All right, shall we?
Yep. Shazam.
Bye now.
Do this.
We end this now.
Yeah, we do.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here.
That's just cool. It's just fun.
Yeah, I mean, the badassery is strong with this one. Shame it'll never be recognized.
Right.
And by the way, I hope that the projections were wrong and this movie comes out and doubles what Black Adam made and triples what the original movie made and whatever. But there's so much working against it, even though there's so much working for it.
Yeah.
Once again, DC is their own worst enemy and shoots their own goddamn selves in the foot.
All right. 15 seconds left. So.
Shazam.
Bye now.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
March 17th. I can.
Yep, next week.
But I feel like an asshole is what I'm going to say, but I completely forgot.
Mm.
To be fair, my mind was focused on trying to see Ant-Man and the Wasp for the review.
Yeah, that's why I suggested just skip Ant-Man and the Wasp and go see Shazam so we can review that instead.
I'll see what I can do. But yeah, interesting week in terms of pop culture stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
fuck off.